Okay. I don't understand.
Click on.
Plug this back in. Let's see. Well, as far as I can tell,
Go ahead and click
as far
on.
as I can tell, we're on the air.
Usually,
But I just can't hear anything, and Anthony, you can't hear anything either.
I don't think we are though. Usually, when it is live, it says up. Now, top window.
So we'll keep going, at the very least. As Kelly gets set, pitches a fastball just missing on the outside there. 2-0 the count. Kelly facing Desmond Gates. Gates 3 for 5 in yesterday's contest with a pair of singles and a double. Cut on and missed there for a strike. So until we get the signal that we are not on the air, we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna see. Hopefully this is working, and we might sound like fools for the people listening if they're watching this without a problem.
Yeah. Game 3 here of the 3-game set here between the Academy Barons and your Arroyo Seco Saints.
Definitely an important contest for at least the series here.
Yeah.
As Kelly gets that 3-1 count on the way. Fouls that one straight back. Anthony, you almost had a play on that one.
Yeah, and as you said, very important, crucial game in this series. As I feel like the storyline coming home after yesterday's game, for a lot of it, we thought it was going to be, man, this offensive explosion for the Saints has been great, but unfortunately, that's going to be heavily overshadowed today by the big comeback there at the end of the game, the last few innings for the Academy Barons, and the very dramatic walk-off.
That ball's lined in the left center field there, a base hit to get the game going. Gates with another single. And of course, what you're referring to there, Anthony, the Saints led in the ballgame 11-4. And the Academy Barons in the last 3 innings of the game scored 8 runs to come all the way back and win that game 12-11.
Yeah.
And obviously a heartbreaking defeat for the team, and even for us sitting there watching the game yesterday, you feel a part of your soul almost taken out of you whenever you drop a game like that. But you're back on the field here for another game here today. So you just put that one in the past and get back at it. So a base hit to start this one by Gates that brings up Buck Anderson. Anderson had a couple of hits in yesterday's game as well. He comes up with a man on first, nobody out. First pitch in there for a called strike. So let's go through and give you the lineup right now for the Academy Barons. We already mentioned Gates up there in center field. Anthony, go ahead and give us the lineup.
Yeah, so for the Academy Barons today, as you said, Desmond Gates led him off here. And then Trent Anderson is batting second today. Or I guess Buck is his nickname.
Buck is his nickname. People around the academy, that's what they're referring to him as.
Yep. Josh Banuelos is batting third. He's DHing for the Academy Barons today. Then Garrett Ouellette is batting in the cleanup spot, followed by Hunter Lewis. Christian Lucio, the hero of yesterday's game for the Barons, batting in the 6th spot. Then Andrew Wilson batting 7th. Cameron Dean is batting in the 8th spot, and Bruce Martin is going to round out this Academy Barons lineup.
0-2 the count. Kelly throws over to first. Back in time. And for the defense for the Arroyo Seco Saints, that's Cameron Briggs over there at first base, getting a little action. He's played all over the infield this year. He's getting and in the outfield some too. He's getting a game in at first base. Second base, Drew Cowley. Shortstop, Angelo Armenta. As the 0-2 there misses low. Third base, Colin Shepard out of Miami of Ohio. And as we go into the outfield, out there in left field, Dalton Ney. He's been playing a lot of left field, getting in the lineup almost every day now. Everyday Ney, we'll start calling him. Center field, that's Jack Smith out of Arizona State. And in right field, Jacob Jenkins. And of course, Kelly on the mound, throw over to first base. Gates diving back in there in time. And for Kelly this season, bit of an up and down, but he's really improved as of late. Had a great start last time out, 1 run over 5+ innings. He's got a 5.4 ERA, 23.1 innings on the season. And he gets set 1-2, throws over back to first. He's really looking to nab Gates there, huh?
Yeah.
So, Kelly so far, what have you noticed out of Kelly and his pitching this season? As I mentioned, he's had a bit of an up and down season, but really when he's been successful, what is it that you think he's been doing, Anthony, that has made him successful?
Well, we've pointed to some of these lopsided games this year where it just kind of looks like a down day in general for the pitching staff.
That
But
ball lined into right field there. There's a base hit. Gates holding up at second base.
But I feel like we had a bulk of those games early in the season where we saw, really lopsided scores with the Saints on the losing end. But, later in this season, with the exception of yesterday, of course, we've had a lot of opportunity to see these pitchers shine. And Wyatt Kelly, I think, is one of those guys. I mean, you talk about that 5.40 ERA. I think that...
and it's slightly misleading a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially considering his last start, as I mentioned, only one run.
Yeah.
But he's got a little bit of trouble now. Of course, the mark of a good pitcher is the ability to work out of a jam. Runners now on first and second, nobody out. That brings up Joshua Banuelos, the designated hitter. He lays down the bunt, popped up. There's Kelly trying to make a play. Shepard with the ball, no one at second, no one at first, and that is going to be a base hit. And a tough play there. That ball popped up, but it was put into no man's land, and there wasn't anyone there covering on second base or on first to make a play.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is unfortunately kind of one of the things we've seen as kind of a theme early in these games sometimes for the Saints is where, it takes a while to get that first out, unfortunately, and by then, you have a couple runners on the base, you got the pitcher pitching out of the stretch, and, just really increases the intensity of the game, I think, a lot earlier than we'd all be hoping for.
Bases loaded, nobody out. And Garrett Ouellette, the catcher, big left-handed hitter, no gloves, batting gloves, as you can see, comes up. First pitch is a curveball in there for a strike. And a good first pitch, being able to try and work out of the jam. This is an important at-bat, to say the least. 0-1 to count. There's a fastball over for a strike, and Kelly quickly getting ahead 0-2 with a couple of called strikes.
One thing I think worth noting, too, with this Academy Barons lineup, I mean, we see it on the Saints where every day, there's a lot of turnover. Sometimes you see Colin Shepard batting leadoff. Some days you see him toward the bottom of the lineup. Plenty of teams, a lot of movement in their lineups from day to day. With the Academy Barons, though, this, I believe, is the fourth or the fifth game that I've called against the Academy Barons.
That ball lined in the right center field, a base hit. The runners are going to have to hold. The one runner coming in. Here comes the second. 2 runs coming to score on the base hit by Garrett Ouellette. Line drive falling in. And the Academy Barons picking up a couple of early runs, still with nobody out. Runners on the corners now, first and third, and Hunter Lewis coming to the plate.
Yeah, just to finish that thought a little bit. So this is, I believe, the 5th game I've called against the Academy Barons this season. And Desmond Gates and Trent Anderson have been the 1 and 2 hitter for them every single game, and I'd like to imagine that that's not just against the Saints that happens. And I mean, you kind of see a perfect example of it right here. Reliable hitters that were able to get on base here early and result in these first couple runs here scored in today's game.
Table setters, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Hunter Lewis now coming to the plate. Lewis in yesterday's game only had 1 hit, but it was a 3-run double, and a huge part of the Barons' late comeback. Driving in a few runs and scoring one himself. Coming up now, Wyatt Kelly here still looking for his first out. He got a called strike on the first pitch, the 0-1. Misses outside. Ball and a strike now to Lewis. Big first baseman hitter. And obviously in a situation like this doesn't even necessarily need a hit to get in this run. He swings and takes a good hack, but that ball's fouled back. Ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, Hunter Lewis had 3 RBIs in yesterday's game, led the Academy Barons in RBIs.
Of course, that was a real team performance, scoring 12 runs. You have everybody sort of chipping in.
Yeah.
And we mentioned that yesterday as well, that the offense for both sides being so explosive, it was just one of those games where everybody was really seeing the ball well. And honestly, I feel like we'll be in store for more of the same today. The 1-2 misses inside, curveball. Count even now at 2-2. And for Kelly, it's about finding command. Obviously, whenever he has his success, he's throwing strikes and getting ahead of hitters. 2-2 on the way. Is a ball pulled down to third base. Shepard is there. Looks over to second, throws for 1 on the first. And he's safe. Lewis, bang, bang play. He beats it out. So a force out there at second base for the first out of the inning, and the runner at third, holding tight.
Now batting third base, Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, regardless of not being able to get the second out, so important to get that first out here just with how rough of a start this has been here. And, possibility here to minimize the damage and hopefully get a double play opportunity here with that runner on first.
Obviously, at this point, if you're able to escape the inning with only 2 runs allowed,
Yeah.
that would be a huge positive. Now, Lucio coming to the plate, Christian Lucio, the hero, as you mentioned, of yesterday's game with the walk-off home run in the 9th inning. First pitch to him is hit out to second base, bobbled, but on the short for 1 on the first base in time. And there you go. The Saints get their double play. So 3 hits, 2 runs left on, 2 runners come in to score, and as we go to the bottom of the first, the Barons jump out to an early 2-0 lead. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Saints here on the YouTube Broadcast Network. So we can't hear ourselves, but welcome back here on the Arroyo Seco Saints YouTube network. Bottom of the first inning here in Pasadena, and the Barons already with a 2-0 lead. As the Saints come up for their first swings of the day, I'm Christy Avanzo with my partner Anthony Alejandrez. And Cameron Briggs also joining us here as he comes into the box for the first hitter of the game for the Saints. On the mound for the Barons is Spencer Herford. Spencer with a 7.48 ERA and 21.2 innings this season. A little bit of an up-and-down season for him as well. Obviously, as we've mentioned, offense definitely one of the things in the California Collegiate League that really stands out. So Briggs steps in. We'll have the lineup for you in just a moment as Briggs takes the first pitch. On the outside corner there for a strike.
Yeah, and we've talked about the importance of this series between the Saints and the Barons as not just, who wins the series today, but these are 2 teams that obviously, just haven't really created much separation with each other as he does not get the out at first.
That ball pulls him off the bag there.
Now batting third baseman
So
from
Briggs
Miami of Ohio, number 4,
benefiting from a little
Shepard.
miscue on defense there, getting on to first base. That'll bring Colin Shepard up to the plate as we're going to go through and give you the Saints lineup here.
So as you saw, Cameron Briggs led it off for the Arroyo Seco Saints here in the bottom half of the first inning. Then Colin Shepard, who was our leadoff hitter yesterday, is going to be batting second and playing third. Then it's going to be the hot-hitting Drew Calley batting in the 3 spot. Dalton Ney is going to be batting cleanup today, and then it's Jacob Jenkins batting in the number 5 hole. Then batting 6th is going to be Mitch Kerner. Tristan Peterson is going to be DHing and batting 7th today. Then it's Angelo Armenta batting in the 8th spot, and Jack Smith is rounding out the lineup for the Arroyo Seco Saints.
0-1 the count now is Shepard. Shepard, as we mentioned, out of Miami of Ohio, with a 2.24 average so far in the CCL season, 22 out of 98. Getting a lot of playing time, especially with the loss of Alex Laforestier, who started the season with the Arroyo Seco Saints and then moved back to focus on his college career. Shepard has been getting in almost every day, playing a lot of third base, second base, some with Chavez's injury, in at third base today. Shepard had a hit in yesterday's game, was 1 for 5. And he comes up now with a ball and strike and a man on first. The pitch. Curveball up high. And so, Anthony, we've talked a lot this season about the offense, and especially this series. The Saints, 24 runs scored over the last 2 games. And obviously, yesterday was not enough with the 12-run effort by the Barons, but a big win on Friday night as Shepard sends a ball out there in the left center field. Coming on and making the catch is the left fielder, Cameron Dean.
Now batting second baseman from Cal.
And Cameron Briggs has to retreat back to first base. Drew Cowley coming up now. Drew Cowley, one of the most potent hitters in the lineup. 336 average, 37 for 110 so far this season, and a team-leading 16 RBIs. And not just that, he's got a good plate discipline, 17 walks, 17 strikes. Cowley has really shown himself this season to be one of the most effective hitters in the lineup, and definitely somebody who knows what he's doing when he steps in the batter's box.
Absolutely. That's one thing we have been treated to this season with the Saints, is that we've seen some guys who have just gone on to have really productive at-bats for really long stretches of time. First part of the season we saw it with John Thomas, and while John Thomas still has a great batting average, it is cool to see this with Drew Cowley here, where he's kind of having a similar run right now, where he's been a base hit machine, and like you said, taking a lot of walks as well.
First pitch to Cowley, it's fouled out. Somebody over there in the bleachers could be able to make a play on that one, maybe.
Yeah.
So an 0-1 count to Cowley. And as you mentioned, Cowley been a base hit machine, really doing hot as of late. Had a couple of hits in yesterday's ball game and an RBI single. With an 0-1 count now, 1 out. Briggs with a sizable lead off of first base. And that ball is pulled foul on the right side. And so Cowley, as you mentioned, actually you mentioned off air, you didn't mention this on the air, but a Cal Poly Bronco out of Cal Poly Pomona, one of 3 members of Cal Poly Pomona on the Saints. And you really are excited to see what he could do in a full season going back to school next year, especially considering the amount of success and the level of development he's had here with the Arroyo Seco Saints. 0-2 count on the way. Curveball cut on and foul tipped. Hung on by the catcher. Is that strike 3, 2 outs now?
Yeah, that is one thing.
Coming up to the plate.
That is one thing that's been interesting to see this year. Obviously, we got a lot of teammates that are also teammates elsewhere, as we got a handful of Cal Poly Pomona guys, handful of USC guys, and on the other side of that, we've seen on many occasions this season where a pitcher is facing a guy on an opposite team, whether it be the Saints or otherwise, who are teammates at their respective universities.
I think of a few games last week where we faced the. Who plays at Biola University? What team is it?
SoCal Catch.
SoCal Catch, right. And they have one of their designated hitter and catcher from Notre Dame University. And obviously we have a designated hitter / catcher from Notre Dame and Bryce Gray.
Yeah.
And the two of them, good friends and teammates during the school year. And then, of course, they come out here and then it's as if you're an enemy. Nay coming up, pulling that ball foul on the third base side. Dalton Nay is another guy who's really had a good season, and especially as of late, struggled the first couple of weeks, but his bat has really come alive. Yesterday had 2 hits and 2 RBIs with a double. We mentioned off the air that he has one of the quickest bats on the team, and he also leads the team in home runs. He's got a pair of home runs this season. Got a 1-1 count here, 2 outs. Briggs still on first base, gets a look over from Hereford.
Yeah, and when you're on this Saints team, if you have home runs, it's not a cheap stat at all, because this is a hard place to hit home runs at. It's kind of interesting when you look at the stats throughout the league and you look at a team like the Hillsburg Prune Packers, and they got a ton of them. Of course, you went there with the team. I was unable to make that trip, but I take it based on the numbers that it must be a hitter's ballpark.
It definitely is. As Nay pops out one foul, and it goes off the screen there behind the plate. Healdsburg is definitely a hitter's park. We've seen balls at Healdsburg that they would jump off the bat, and it's down the line, maybe 315, 320 down the left field line, whereas here it's 374. It's deeper down the left field line than it is to dead center field.
Yeah, definitely one of the unique quirks to this ballpark that makes it, a lot different than a lot of the other ones. That, along with, just kind of the exterior to this place, it's a really interesting looking ballpark we got here, and it's one of the fun parts of the California Collegiate League is visiting these ballparks you might not otherwise get a chance to go to and just seeing the big variations to them.
Ball and 2 strikes, and it also makes you sort of adjust your game, knowing as a pitcher, as Ney hits a high fly ball foul and tailing out of play, that ball is going to get out of play. As a pitcher, you can sort of tweak your game. A fly ball pitcher would have a lot of success in this park, being able to use the spacious outfield, whereas in Healdsburg, you have to kind of keep the ball on the ground or not make contact.
Yeah.
And we've seen that where, different parks, you got to, cater your game to the facility and being able to, use it for your benefit. 1-2 is fouled back again.
Yeah.
It's a good battle here by Dalton Ney, and the umpires now need a new set of balls.
Yeah.
Of course, that's one of the quirks of this park, too, is the ball gets fouled back, and we see this at any CCL park. It's not the major leagues, of course, and, you got to have the fans and interns and whoever, anybody who's right near the ball, got to run, get the foul ball so we can get it back and play for the next game or for the next at-bat, I mean.
Absolutely.
Ball and 2 strikes here today. That pitch misses up high. Good take by Dalton. Count even now at 2-2 with 2 outs. And Briggs getting a little antsy over there at first base.
Yep. Yeah, I've been waiting there a little while now. See if Dalton Ney can move him up.
Reached on an error to lead off the inning. It has stayed put since. 2-2 on the way. Another high fly ball pulled foul. Just a little bit early on that one. And again, a good at-bat here. Dalton putting up foul ball after foul ball. Just looking to get a pitch that he can drive. Hereford gets back in the stretch. 2-2 on the way. Curveball, cut on, foul tip, strike 3, held on by the catcher. And so the Saints with an error. Barons error, leaving a runner on there first. We go to the second inning. It's the Barons 2, the Saints 0, here on the Arroyo Seco Saints YouTube network.
Welcome back to Arroyo Seco Baseball. You're listening to us on the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. Anthony Alejandro's here alongside Chris Diavanzo, and we're heading into the second inning now. And we've got Andrew Wilson coming up to the plate here for the Academy Barons. Wilson had a rough day yesterday, and we just mean that. Yeah, it must have hurt.
Definitely, he was a little bit upset there out in the third one, thinking that, obviously, you wouldn't be throwing at any of these guys because, it's a very low-key game, and there's not sort of the same energy that would be going in as if you were playing a rival, say, or somebody that was, causing you strife. So it was completely coincidental as that ball is ripped into right center field.
So Wilson on with a base hit here, and this is kind of the unfortunate part here for the Saints that we've seen just, lead-off hits, and, it may seem like a small thing, but it is no small thing when you got runners on the bases. You know, the first out's so important.
Well, you know what I've noticed about these Academy Barons, and this goes back to yesterday too, is that they are a very aggressive swinging team. They're not afraid to swing at the first pitch, and sometimes that comes back to bite them because they swing at a pitch that isn't really something that they can drive. They'll pop it up, ground a ball, or just completely miss switch. So if you're swinging at the first pitch and you miss, sometimes that's not a bad thing because it at least gives you a little bit more life to working at that. Because that pitch misses outside.
0-1? Or excuse me, 1-0.
But these guys definitely do make an attempt at putting their best swings forward and doing something to be able to get guys moving and get guys on base. And they don't go up there to be cheated. They're going to swing. So you want to throw strikes, but throw a good strike, not something that's right over the plate.
Called strike, 1-1.
And of course, as I say that, they take the pitch. They take a couple of pitches right off the bat.
Cameron Dean, a player we didn't get to see yesterday, but we've seen a few different guys here in this series who have played in either 1 or 2 games in this series and have an impact. Yesterday, Joseph Argumedo ended up getting 2 RBIs, didn't play in the first game.
And is not playing in today's game either. But of course, that's one of the things where you have a big roster and everybody needs to get work in, and especially, of course, on a Sunday afternoon where not everybody who plays. Sometimes your second or third string guys will get in the lineup.
Gets the shortstop out at second, and it's going to be in time at first to pull the double play. Very big defensively there for the Saints.
So far, double plays really coming in handy. A couple double plays here early in the game. And, of course, Wyatt is a guy who pitches to contact quite a bit. And so keeping the ball on the ground, let your defense make some plays. And they have definitely done that for him so far today. And, of course, that's something that you want to do. You want your fielders to be involved in the game. If you're throwing a lot of balls, walking guys, or even striking out, sometimes your fielders will subconsciously check out of the game and not be as on their toes, not as sharp, ready to go for as soon as the ball is hit.
Bruce Martin at the plate now. That one called for a strike. Bruce Martin, not a guy that we saw yesterday as well. Haven't seen him in this series just yet. Currently batting 121 on the season for the Academy Barons. Swing and a miss. Strike 2.
So now 0-2 the count. You definitely have him where you want him. Just make good pitches. At this point, you can waste a pitch. Either throw a fastball up or a slider in the dirt. Just make him chase.
And that one gets away there.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
And a good opportunity here for Wyatt Kelly to kind of flip the script from these, we're only in the second inning, but the first inning, a lot of traffic on the bases, and then a leadoff hit here. The double play really helped out, and if they could get out of this inning here on this batter, I think it could really kind of flip the script of
it definitely
start.
Shifts some momentum, and as a pitcher, that's something that you want. You want a quick inning after a tough inning there.
Swing and a miss, and that will wrap up this side.
That's exactly what you want.
Still 2-0 here for the Academy Barons. We will be right back on the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network.
Now batting right field for Mid-American Nazarene, number 14, Jacob Jenkins.
Welcome back to Arroyo Seco Baseball. We are at the bottom of the second inning. Jacob Jenkins coming up to the plate here for the Saints. It is a 2-0 game thus far. Anthony Alejandres here alongside Chris Diavanzo. And crooked number first inning for the Academy Barons, but not not as bad as things could have turned out as we talked about in the first inning.
Definitely limiting the damage, which was huge for Wyatt, and then of course being able to get through the second inning there very quickly, a double play and a strikeout. That keeps him in the game, and obviously it keeps the Saints in the game too. 2-0 is a manageable deficit, especially the way that the offense has been swinging the bat lately.
And that one must have hit him there as he takes the walk. And just going back a little bit, though, to the potential trouble in the first inning that, more or less damage was minimized. I mean, that's one of those things that you look back on at the end of the game, and it's like they had bases loaded, no outs, pushed across 2 runs. If the Saints are able to come back in this one, you can point to a moment like that in the game where things could have been a lot worse than they ended up being.
Well, it goes to show that at any point in the game, you can fall behind quite a bit and you can really find yourself out of it. And we think back to the game on Wednesday, that ball smoked but foul. Back to the game on Wednesday, the Saints fell behind, I think, 8 runs in the first 2 innings, and it really sort of takes you out of the game. When you're down 8, 9, 10 runs early on, even if you go for your own at-bats or for your own stats or whatever the reason may be, it's tough to be able to get yourself back up and thinking, well, we have a chance to come back and win in this game, even if we put up a 7-run inning while we're still down. Whereas a 2-run deficit, there's 8.5 innings still left to be played, and obviously you know that you got a guy on base, your tying run is coming up to the plate. All you need is 1 inning where you can completely change the dynamic of the game, and as I mentioned, the fact that the Saints offense has been so prolific the last 2 games against the Academy Barons, specifically the fact that they've been seeing the ball so well off of these pitchers, it just says that, okay, 2 runs is basically 0.
Jenkins taking off, and the throw is, he is safe. The throw was in time, wasn't able to tag him there, though. And now, just like that, Jacob Jenkins in scoring position here, and Mitch Kerner, the 1-2 count.
Kerner here with a great chance to drive in this run. This would be a big run, obviously, to get on the board and cut the deficit down to 1. Kerner on the season has been one of the more productive hitters on the team. He's batting .333, 13 for 39. And as a catcher, he doesn't get into the lineup every day. But when he does, he makes the most of his opportunities.
That one goes to the shortstop. And that is going to be out number 2.
So Peterson came in yesterday, had an RBI double, 1 for 5. Overall in the season, though, it's been somewhat of a struggle. He's 8 for 54. But, of course, the great thing about Summer League is that, it's really the process first and the results second. Obviously, you want the results because that's a sign that you're doing your job right and the things you're working on, you're really being able to improve upon. But, you've put together good at-bats, and Tristan all season long has been somebody who puts together good at-bats, makes solid contact, and then that's just one of the things about baseball where, you're not always getting the result that you want, but so long as you're putting in the work and you keep doing the things you're supposed to be doing, going in the cage, when you're up at the plate, being able to work counts and get a pitch that's favorable for you, that's the thing Tristan does.
Absolutely, as he fouls that one off there, 0-1 the count, as we see one of our intern buddies, as that one goes over the head of the pitcher and into center field for a hit. Jacob Jenkins rounding third and coming home. He is going to score the first run of the game for the Arroyo Seco Saints. Great RBI hit there for the DH today, Tristan Peterson. And now Angelo Armenta coming up to the plate here. Now a 1-run ball game.
That was a big hit by Peterson there, and of course you saw a little bit of a pat on the butt there from the coach. I mean, that's something that he's really been wanting for a while. And sometimes like that, if you're going bad and you're kind of in a slump, a simple hit like that is the thing that will really get you going. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see the next couple of weeks Peterson's bat really start to come around.
Absolutely. And now that's his 7th RBI on the season, so it comes at a really good time. You were talking about a little bit of the, fouls that one off, 1-1.
Armenta, he's somebody that joined the team late in the season. You mentioned the USC guys. He was a USC guy, although now he's playing as a 5th-year senior at San Diego State. But Armenta, he's somebody that, as one of the older guys on the team, it's very interesting to have him around and see he's been around baseball for a long time. Not to say that the other guys haven't been around baseball either, but when you're working with 22, 23-year-olds who are, they're adults.
Yeah.
So to speak. I mean, maybe not compared to a 40-year-old, but compared to some of the 18 or 19-year-old kids that are on the team, guys who are going into their freshman year or sophomore year, it's good to be able to see sort of how do the seniors approach it? How do these upperclassmen approach it? Guys who are graduated fifth-year players, what do they do to sort of get ready for a baseball game? And then, of course, when they're in the game, what is it that they do to be able to, sort of show that their experience and the things that have made them stick around for such a long time?
Count here even 2-2 on Armenta. Gets back to first in time there, does Peterson. So we see one of our intern friends over here tracking down some baseballs. Tristan Peterson fouled one off before that big hit. That one high. Count is full. And Armenta, another guy who could really use a breakout at bat here. Of course, you mentioned hasn't played in as many games as these guys, but certainly, would love to get his numbers up here. Currently a .067 batting average thus far, but that's only through 5 games of work, so big opportunity here as he's going to take the walk on this one. And now we have runners on first and second. Jack Smith coming up to the plate, the center fielder.
This is a big at-bat for Jack, too. I mean, Jack, we've mentioned that he's been very successful at the plate. I was saying on the last game that I did, which was earlier in the week, that Jack is as a two-sport athlete getting back into the baseball grind as somebody who plays football at Arizona State. He's definitely somebody, you think of like Tim Tebow and what Tebow's going through in the minor leagues, where he's somebody who hadn't played for 10 years. Jack, he was a guy that played in high school, was an elite high school player, and is only a couple years removed from the game. So he definitely is still somebody who knows the baseball.
Center fielder able to track that down for out number 2. Going back to Jack Smith, though, he's had so many opportunities this year to really display that athleticism. You said as a two-sport athlete, we've really gotten to see it, especially, earlier this season against the Academy Barons, there was a game where he really accounted for so much of their offense and just their scoring ability in that game. They won 6-4, and it wasn't just that he got hits. He stole bases. He put himself in scoring position to be knocked in for a run. And, it really made a difference in that game as they won by 2 runs, and you could really account for everything he did there, getting himself from first to third on stolen bases and creating scoring opportunities.
He just does so much. We talk about his speed and the fact that he plays wide receiver, so he's a very athletic, fast player, but he's not just a speed guy. He's somebody who can hit, somebody who can throw. Obviously on defense, that athleticism and speed definitely helps him out as a center fielder. So he's somebody with a definite future in this game if he decides to stick with baseball, and that's what he's going to pursue going forward. That I think that he's definitely got a future in this game.
Cameron Briggs at the plate right now. Count 0-1.
Briggs 0 for 1 in the game so far. Reached on an error.
Swings through that one. 0-2 the count.
And you can hear it a little bit there. The coach is screaming fight. When you're in an 0-2 count like this, the whole mentality of your at-bat shifts to, you're thinking first and second, okay, I'd love to get a base hit, drive in the run, tie the game, but now it's just a matter of, all right, I have to stay alive. If that pitch is even close, foul it off, just get to the next pitch. It's something where you're not really in an aggressive mindset because you're in the hole. And that was a great take there by Briggs. That was a close pitch.
1-2 the count now on Cameron Briggs.
Usually 0-2 and 1-2. Also, though, that the pitcher is going to try and maybe work you a little bit, throw something out of the zone. You don't want to give in right away because that ball, if it starts low, it's probably going to be a ball.
Second baseman unable to make the play on that, and now we've got runners rounding the bases. 1 run will score, and now we have runners on the corners for the Saints, and the ball game is all tied up.
Great play. I don't know if they're going to give him an error. I think they'll probably give him a base hit. Briggs a base hit on that because he had a dive to make a play on it. But a hard hit ball, it's the oldest thing in the book. It's one of the biggest cliches in the game. Just put the ball in play and make the other team make a play. They had him played up the middle a little bit, but still that ball was smoked. He wasn't able to get to it on the dive, and because it hit off of his glove, the Saints were able to get a little bit extra movement on the bases. That ball, if it had gone into center field, I'm not sure if the runner on second would have been able to advance to third base. But there you go. Now you got runners on the corners and a chance to be able to maybe take the lead here in this inning.
Yeah, you said it. Big opportunity for Colin Shepard as the count 1-0.
Yeah, Shepard 0 for 1. After coming off a 1 for 5 in yesterday's game. But he's usually good for about a hit or two, and in these spots, he's one of the guys I think is somebody you want up in this spot. He's a good hitter, guy who puts the ball in play, and is obviously very aware situationally. So, when in a spot like this, you think, okay, he's somebody that is going to try to put the ball in play, force them to make a play, and if he can just get a base hit, even better.
That one outside, 2-1. And, you talk about the importance of Colin Shepard in situations like this, and it can be pointed out, too. He's batting second today. We see him bat leadoff quite a bit, but he's come up so huge in opportunities where they've had him 8th or 9th in the batting lineup, and it works out great to have a guy who takes smart at-bats like him in those situations, because we've seen him come up big, whether it's taking a walk and loading up the bases or coming up with a very good situational hit.
Yeah, we've talked about his defensive versatility already today, being able to play multiple infield positions, but offensively, too, he's somebody that comes up in a lot of different spots and is able to deliver.
Grounds that one, and it's going to get through for a base hit, and a run's going to score, and the Saints take their first lead of the ball game now, 3-2.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Shooting a ball to the left side. You got a big hole there. Shortstop had him played up the middle, able to shoot the ball in the left field, and obviously it wasn't that hard a hit, but he just knows where to send it. It's a little seeing eye single, they call that, and that gives the Saints the lead.
Yeah, and we talked about the importance of getting out of that jam in the first inning, and it kind of proves our point right now. Just like that, they're able to get their first lead of the ball game, and kind of look back on that first inning where they minimized some of the damage that could have been done.
Well, considering the offense and the amount of offense that has been around so far this series, I would say right now you have a couple guys still on base. You do not want to leave them out there. A one-run lead is almost like a deficit in this series. So you want to be able to bring these guys in. You're putting together a good 2-hour rally so far. Cali, as we mentioned, has been one of the most productive hitters. Oh, no.
And called for out number 3 there. So that will do it for this half of the inning. The Saints now lead the ball game 3-2. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
Welcome back here to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. The Saints with a 3-run second inning, able to take the lead as we go into the top of the third. I'm joined by pitcher Brian McConnell.
Nice to meet you. Top to be here.
Yeah, welcome to the broadcast, Brian. It's your first time here on the broadcast with us this year.
Yep.
So, Brian, the thing probably most unique about you, and if anybody knows about you so far, they know that you are the sidewinder on the team. And we've got a little bit of everything. We've got a lefty knuckleballer. We've got a sidewinder. So how did that delivery develop for you as a pitcher? Obviously, it's a unique delivery. So when did that start for you?
I started in high school as a sophomore. My freshman year of high school, I struggled throwing over the top. We had a guy at the high school his senior year. He threw submarine. Coach told me, we had the same body type, so let's try it out. Started my sophomore year on JV to get a feel for it. It was a struggle at first, but come out first batter usually hit the guy.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's a
process. It's a process, right?
Coming from a different arm slot. But, obviously that gives you a little bit of an advantage, being that when you come into the game, batters aren't used to facing a pitcher like you. So have you found that since you've changed your delivery that that's really something that has helped your game and you progress as a pitcher?
Absolutely. I think as like Wyatt and most pitchers in the game, they throw over the top. When hitters are taking BP before the game, they're just seeing guys that are throwing overhand. So I come into the game, and all of a sudden, ball's being released by the pitcher's knee. It's going to throw, timing off, eye level. It's difficult to adjust to.
That's a swing and a miss there. Kelly, after a rough first inning, he's really started to pick himself up there. Now, I know you're a relief pitcher. I don't know if you've really pitched as a starter at all in high school or at the college level, but one of the things that we've talked about with Wyatt is sort of settling into the game.
Mm-hmm.
First inning is a struggle, but then by the third or fourth inning, a lot of times your stuff sort of comes in and settles in. As a reliever, you don't have that luxury.
Mm-mm.
You have to come into the game. You got to get outs right away. So what is something that you do to be able to get ready so that as soon as you come into the game, you're able to throw strikes and get guys out right away?
My whole mindset when I come into a game, whether it's a start or in relief, is my job is to get guys out, throw strikes, let them hit the ball. If they don't hit the ball, I get a strikeout. But I got 7 defenders behind me, 1 behind the dish. Calling the game. I trust my guys on the field to get the outs for me if I don't strike them out.
Now you're going into your junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Just finished at the junior college level or the community college level?
Yeah, junior college at Citrus College.
Okay, and we were talking a little bit off air about you're transferring to the University of Utah next year, looking to walk on to the team. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different process walking on to the team as opposed to being a scholarship athlete. So, sort of, what are you going into next fall, sort of expecting as far as working to get onto the team, and why the University of Utah?
Well, first, going to the University of Utah, it's been my dream school since I was a kid. I love being in the area. It's a beautiful state. They actually get weather.
Yeah. Well, you're from Pasadena, right?
Yeah, I'm from here. I'm from around here, yeah. With the process to going into, I've been talking with the coaches and the coaching staff. They said, we have a solid core staff right now, and we're going to take a look at you, but, don't be surprised if we don't take you. It'll be a process, and, it's going to be a grind, but it's something I look forward to.
Now, do you plan on, if you don't make the team hypothetically, do you plan on continuing your baseball career somewhere else, or are you just going to sort of shift into the, sort of a spectator? Almost flight out there, Jenkins underneath to make the play.
I'm always going to be trying to play the game. It's what I'm passionate about. I love playing baseball. I love getting guys out on the mound. Standing out there, playing with the rest of the guys. So no matter what happens, my plan is still to play baseball going forward.
So quick inning here, 2 outs already as we come up to the next batter. Now, Brian, we're watching Wyatt pitch here. Obviously, one of the things that you're doing is pitching in the bullpen. You're watching a lot of these pitchers, and you're sort of taking things that you can from them and sort of their own stuff into development. So who's the teammate that you find that you like to watch the most and that you're picking up a lot from and learning a lot from?
Well, I play a lot of catch with Jackson Bond, the knuckleballer. So I like watching him pitch because it's interesting. You don't see a lot of knuckleballs at all in the game.
Especially from a left-hander, which is, honestly, Jackson is the only left-handed knuckleballer I've ever seen in my time in the sport. Yeah,
he's a cool guy to talk to. We work together, constantly. Trying to help his pitching, my pitching. It's, his thought process on how he's working, feedback, how he takes it, and everything. I think he's the most fun guy to watch for me.
So we're almost at the end of the inning here, 1-2 count. But we'll try and just wrap this up real quick. CCL, this has obviously been your first experience in a summer league like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a unique experience for anybody who comes into play. So what is the thing that you've really taken the most from the couple months that we've been out here, both maybe on the field and as well as off the field?
Just making all these adjustments, for on the mound. I started the year, big leg kick on the third base side of the rubber. Now I'm on the first base side with the shorter leg kick. It's just making all these quick adjustments to, help, get into games more in the fall or in the spring when it comes up.
Down there to Shepard on a first in time. Brian, thank you so much for coming on with us today. You're a natural. If you want to ever hop on the broadcast again, just let us know. You'd be more than welcome to, okay?
All right, thank you.
Man, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll be back with the bottom of the third. The Saints leading 3-2 here on the Arroyo Seco Network.
Now batting second baseman, foul ball from number 21, Drew Cowley.
Back here at Pasadena, here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field, as Drew Cowley comes up again. The runner picked off the second base to end the last inning, meaning that Cowley, who was at the plate and working a little bit of it at bat, gets a fresh count and a fresh time to step up. And obviously a little bit different leading off an inning than coming up with runners on first and second and 2 out. Your approach changes. I'm here with Anthony Alejandres. His first pitch here on the way in the bottom of the third. The pitch is popped up, straight up. Ouellette underneath, making the play. 1 pitch, 1 out here to begin the third.
Now batting left fielder from Lee University, number 10, Dalton May.
So Anthony, we're here in the bottom of the third inning, and obviously the offense not as prolific necessarily as it was yesterday, but still 3 runs for the Saints, 2 runs for the Barons. What have you taken away from the offensive side of the ball game so far?
I've liked what I've seen so far. They've had some scrappy at-bats, and they've done a great job of not letting an early deficit get you down. You know, they were behind, but they, didn't let it get them down as that one hit Dalton May.
So 2 Saints so far being clipped.
Yeah. Nonetheless, though, to another extent here, aside from 2 nights ago, these have been the types of games we've seen between the Saints and the Barons. Very close ball games, whether it be low-scoring games or high-scoring games, all season long. 1 to 2 run games has been how these games have ended for them, with the exception of the one game. So I kind of look for that to be the case here with 2 teams that's kind of been the story of their season. They haven't been able to separate from each other at any point. Their win totals are nearing the same, and at the end of the season, it looks like in the standings, one will end up being right ahead of the other.
Well, right now there's only about a game, maybe a half game difference in the standings between these 2 teams. And of course, the game you're referring to that was not close, the Saints scored 13 runs, won by double digits. Jenkins shoots that one out in the left center field. Gates running over, making the catch in left center. He's got a scamper back on to first base, 2 outs down now, and Mitch Kerner coming up to the plate.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one thing that also is, I feel like, has been a little bit understated by us on the broadcast team just due to the tough, dramatic loss yesterday. The Saints offense has been great the last few days, and I really don't want it to take anything away from how they did offensively due to, the unraveling at the end of that game yesterday, because we've seen so many runs scored here in the last few days, and that's continuing here into this ball game.
27 runs combined through this series so far, and obviously this inning and still 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and hopefully not a 9th, but potentially 6 more innings to go. So there's plenty of offense so far in the series, and that perhaps an indictment on our pitching and the Academy Barons pitching as well. But first pitch in there, a fastball for a called strike.
Yeah, I think that was the toughest part to take about the loss yesterday was so many great performances on the Saints that were going to be overshadowed by how the game ended. Bryce Gray, for example, who's not in the lineup today,
that
what
was
a great game
exactly
he had.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, it was so unfortunate to see because he really had such a breakout game yesterday, could do no wrong, and then unfortunately it's one of those performances that we won't forget, but in regards to how the game ended.
Gates there to make the catch. That'll end the inning. Saints leaving a runner. We'll go to the 4th now. Saints on top 3-2. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Saints YouTube channel.
Now batting for the Barons, catcher from Cal State San Bernardino, number 27, Garrett Roulette.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. You're listening to Saints versus Barons, game number 3 of this 3-game set here at Pasadena at Jackie Robinson Field at Brookside Park. I'm Anthony Alejandrez. Alongside me is Chris Diavanzo, and we're back here in the top of the 4th inning. And we've got Andrew Wilson at the plate for the Academy Barons. And I think we just had the strongest win we've ever had out here.
Just a quick correction, it's Garrett Ouellette at the plate.
Thank you, Garrett Ouellette.
That was a very strong win. Although, you know what, on a day like today, that's something you really need.
Yeah.
It is definitely a warm. This is why we don't play most of our games at 1 o'clock. We spend 6 p.m. because on a day game like this, we're sitting underneath the tent, but this is a scorcher, to say the least.
Absolutely. 1-1 the count now on Garrett Ouellette. Yeah, we haven't had a win that strong here probably the whole time we've been out here this season. Felt pretty nice for the brief moment that we had that for. Swings through that one. 1-2 the count now on Garrett Ouellette.
Great curveball there by Kelly.
And Chris, we've got the CCL All-Star Prospect game coming up on Wednesday out at the MLB Academy where we were just at yesterday. A lot of fun for this league. The game gets broadcasted on Fox Sports West. Fly ball. Center fielder going to track that one down for the out.
Back to what we were talking about earlier about Smith's speed and athleticism. Very easy for him to track that ball down. That ball was hit very well. It was hitting the gap, and but with Smith out there patrolling center field, you knew that if it was going to hang up for more than a second or two, he was probably going to run it down. So an easy play there by Jack.
Going back to this prospect game, I mean, I think one of the cool things about it, they play at a ballpark like the MLB Academy where you see the names on the wall of some of the local guys who have played there that have made it to the next level. And as that one smacked into left field for a base hit, Hunter Lewis on board with a single now and 1 out. Still a 3-2 Saints lead.
And we have a couple of our players. We have 3 All-Stars going there. Blake Beers, a fantastic pitcher, one of the best pitchers on the team, and obviously very much well-deserved his spot on the All-Star team this year. John Thomas, another guy who just, from day one has been a consummate professional. I mean, he certainly looks the part of a big-time baseball star, but then he steps in the box and he puts up the numbers as well. So he's one of them. Beers is another one, and of course, the man of steel himself, who I know had a rough outing yesterday, but for the most part this season has been just electric. And you see his stuff and you think, oh man, if I had to step in and face him, he would make mincemeat out of me. You know what I mean? And he definitely does it even to most of these batters. He just carves them up like a butcher, and he's got some of the best stuff in the league. So it'll be great to see those guys pitching and playing on Wednesday. I look forward to it, and I know that they're going to put together a spectacular performance, and it'll be a memory for them that they'll be able to take home to their universities and probably remember for a long time. So it'll be good to see.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that it creates a little bit of bias in us because we're here every day and we see these guys play all the time, but it is unfortunate when you see these guys who get on a hot streak who were not selected to the team. You got guys like Drew Cowley, who he's having a great season and he's really been hot as of late, and you really got to think, a guy like that should be an all-star. You look at Jacob Jenkins, who's doing it all this season. You see him pitching, you see him hitting, playing good defense.
Well, the problem was we only had 4 selections as that ball's popped up on the infield and out of play. We only had a handful of selections. Obviously, you would love to see all of these guys make the team, and certainly the ones who have been playing very well. And you mentioned a couple of them. Cowley certainly has the numbers, no question about it, to make the team. And I think of guys like Jenkins and Kerner and the way Dalton has played the last couple of weeks. He's somebody that would have been a candidate for it. Bryce's bat has really come alive. He's somebody that could have been a candidate for it. But then you're talking about the Arroyo Seco Saints All-Star team.
Absolutely.
And so
I like the sound of it.
I would love to see that, but unfortunately, you have the collection of the league, and there's a lot of talented players from across the league. As that pitch misses inside, you have a lot of talented players from all across the league, and so every team needs to be represented. The best of the best really are going to be there, and for those who didn't make the team, sometimes something bad that happens like that, it's not really bad per se, but a negative situation like that, like being snubbed off an all-star team, that can be used as motivation to further propel you. And so you think of somebody like Cowley, who will think maybe, man, I can't believe I got left off the CCL All-Star roster, the prospect roster. Well, I'm going to work 10 times harder in the fall and the spring to show them, no, I'm an elite player. So it'll be interesting to see sort of the guys who weren't left on, or who were left off the roster, who didn't make the team, what they're able to do with that going forward.
Yeah, excellent points. And another cool thing about this, so it's at the MLB Academy, and it's the prospect game, and it's the day after the MLB All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, as baseball fans, we all enjoy the All-Star game. We always like to see who gets selected. You're an NL East guy,
yes.
So you've got some opinions. You're a little
Florida
bit fired up.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this off the air, but about Bryce Harper and the season that Harper's having. He's starting for the National League, obviously, and a guy who's hitting, just above 200. As that ball smoked down the line.
And just foul.
Just a foul ball there. You always have the amateur umpires in the dugout whenever the call doesn't go your way, saying, "Oh, what? I saw the chalk."
Yeah.
No, that was a foul ball there. Harper, guy's hitting, I think, 218 on the season, and obviously he's one of the most prolific power hitters in the game, and we'll get to see him during the home run derby and what he's going to be able to do during that. He'll put on a show, no doubt. But, what an all-star used to be when you think of the most all-around players in the game. Or you think of somebody like Giancarlo Stanton, say, who Stanton now is in the American League. People think of him as a guy who only hits home runs and he strikes out and he's a low average hitter, but he's hitting over 270. One of the top home run hitters in the American League. He doesn't make the All-Star team, but meanwhile you have a guy like Bryce Harper, 215. He's on the All-Star game.
Absolutely.
Or he's going to be in it for the National League.
It's that one to third. He's going to get a second in time for the first out. And safe over at first.
At Briggs stretching out, they're trying to make that play. Bang, bang. But, of course, whenever it's that close, the old cliche, tie goes to the runner. That was really what was going on at that play. Very close, but he looked like he was safe. I think that was a good call.
Yeah. Another thing I want to get to with this All-Star game, Bryce Harper absolutely played everybody, and I don't know why more people didn't catch on to this. So he's been saying for years he wasn't going to do another home run derby until they went to Washington for the All-Star game. So people are waiting to see it, and then this year he's having a down year, and he never actually confirmed for a long time that he was going to participate in the home run derby. And when he finally speaks, what does he say? I won't participate in the home run derby unless I'm voted into the All-Star game. Everybody was waiting years to see it, so
funny.
He gets what he wants.
I wasn't even aware of that story.
He played everybody, and it drives me crazy.
Well, it makes sense that he would even get voted in. Of course, that you always have somebody from the hometown team that usually gets voted in. And I mentioned Stanton because that last season, Stanton got voted into the All-Star game, being from Miami. And I'm not just referencing that because I'm a Marlins fan and still sour about Giancarlo getting traded to the Yankees. But that's a typical thing where you see the hometown guy always is going to be there to represent. You think of a few years ago in Cincinnati and Todd Frazier, who I think is also from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
He was the hometown guy, making it into the All-Star game, winning the home run derby. 2016, the game, I believe, was... where was the game in 2016? I'm having a brain freeze right now.
Let's see. 2016... Was 2016 in New York?
I think it was 2013.
Yeah, 2013 was Citi Field.
And then it was
San Diego.
San Diego was 2016. Will Myers was the guy that got in and he was having that same kind of season, 240, 230 hitter, but prolific power hitter, getting into the home run derby, and obviously being San Diego's representative in the All-Star game. So it's typical. You see that where, you got to have somebody from the hometown team make the team.
Man, we've had a long stretch of National League represented All-Star games, I was just thinking about that.
All the new ballparks. Well, it's all the new ballparks. That really is the reason. That D.C. opened 10 years ago, Miami 5 years ago. Yeah. Petco Park, I don't think it had an All-Star game yet.
Yeah, just a beautiful ballpark.
So they're just trying to get all of these new stadiums, and it just so happens that there's a lot that have opened up in National League cities.
Yeah. Third baseman going to get that one, unable to make a play there, and Cameron Dean safe at first, and a run will score here to tie this one up.
That was a tough play. I'm not sure Shepard would have been able to make that play anyway, just because he fielded the ball so deep. You can't even really see it on the screen here, but that ball was almost on the outfield dirt, right at the edge, and it would have been a tough play with Dean's speed to be able to throw him out at first base anyway, and I think he bobbled the ball, it bounced in and out of his glove, and I think that was probably on his mind, that he was trying to make a play really quickly. He probably would have needed to make a force out at second base there. So first and second now, 2 outs.
The count 0-1.
And obviously for Kelly, you do not want to let that sort of prolong this inning. And okay, you give up a run. We're in a tie game now, 3-3. if you're able to get out of it, really there's no harm, no foul. Especially considering how well the offense has been playing, you figure that they'll probably score again. And if you fall behind now, considering that could have potentially been the third out of the inning, it really does sort of suck the wind out of you. That, okay, 2 more runs come in. Oh, now we're down. Okay, now you have to get another out, maybe a base hit. You just don't. You want to get out of the inning as quick as you can.
Yeah. Is that one high? Ball 1. 1-1 the count now on Bruce Martin. Bruce Martin, shortstop today for the Academy Barons.
And obviously, no disrespect to Bruce Martin, but we've mentioned his numbers on the season and that it's really been a struggle for him, and he's not really getting in the lineup every single day. So, and obviously, it's difficult to really sort of get into a good rhythm when you're only playing once every 3 or 4 days. And you play a game, you sit down for a couple of days, you get cold. The best numbers really start to happen after you're playing for a week or two. But you're facing the 9-hitter in the lineup and somebody who's not getting a lot of at-bats. You do not want to walk this guy to get back to the top of the order, or worse, groove a pitch that he's able to take care of and hit for a 2-run double or even just get a base hit. You want to make a pitch that he's going to be able to either put it on the ground, make a play at second or first, hit a pop-up in the air, or just strike him out. You're in a 2-1 count right now, so just make a strike on this pitch.
Connects on that one. Center fielder coming over for it, and he is going to make the play for out number 3. The Barons get a run, though, and this game is all tied up 3-3. We'll be back in a moment on the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network.
Now batting the DH from Mexico State, number 8, Tristan Peterson.
Welcome back on the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. Anthony Alejandrez here alongside Chris Diavanzo. And it is the bottom of the 4th inning. We're all tied up here. Academy Barons 3, Arroyo Seco Saints 3. And we've got Tristan Peterson at the plate. That one called for strike 1.
I would love to see Peterson. This is selfishly, and you don't want to ever go into an at-bat with this approach, but I would just love to see him just completely hammer a ball right now.
2-1 the count.
Like swinging out of his shoes, kind of hammer it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it'd definitely be nice to see him have a big day. I mean, obviously he started off very well here, already got an RBI in this ball game. Count now 2-1.
And they're working him with a lot of curveballs too, so which is interesting. Maybe they don't trust the fastball. They think he would be able to turn a fastball around really quick.
Fouls that one off. Count even now, 2-2. Been talking a little bit about the MLB All-Star Game, and we talked about some of the places where they've played it in recent years, and obviously your team, the Marlins, had the All-Star Game last season, I believe, at Marlins Park. And that's a place that those of us here on the West Coast, as Tristan Peterson.
So they're getting a little bit of revenge for beating that batter 3 times in the game yesterday, and now 3 Saints have gotten hit. And again, I have to reiterate, these are never intentional. No one is throwing at anybody at this level, but it is kind of coincidental that you have somebody who get hit. The control wasn't quite there yesterday on our side, and now, of course, 3 guys getting beamed on a little curveball is getting hit in the elbow, but still getting hit.
Yeah, you said it, and like you said, not nothing intentional. It was just very unfortunate that it kept happening to the same guy repeatedly in yesterday's game. There's obviously no reason to have anything against him in particular, as he fouls that one off. The count now 0-1 on Angelo Armenta, a bat we certainly hope to see break out here pretty soon.
The All-Star game, getting back to what you were talking about before, Anthony, there was such a long streak for a number of years where the American League was winning the All-Star game year after year. And now, the last 3 or 4 years, that started to happen again. And it's been known for a while that it's sort of like in basketball where the Western Conference is just way more talented. The top players in the league all play in the Western Conference. And in the Major League Baseball, it's starting to happen again where the American League is just loaded with talent.
Yep.
And the National League has a lot of interesting teams and well-constructed teams, but not so much necessarily the elite of the elite players, where in the American League you've got guys like Trout, you've got Aaron Judge, you've got Jose Altuve, you've got Giancarlo Stanton, you've got Mookie Betts and JD Martinez, and the list goes on. Whereas in the National League, you said this in the break, Paul Goldschmidt is the guy, the National League All-Star. No disrespect to Paul Goldschmidt, but he's not the same caliber of player as a Mike Trout.
Sure.
So it's just interesting that the talent is all sort of filling up in the one league again.
Yeah, and I mean it's amazing like how top heavy right now it is in the American League. You got a team like the Red Sox. I mean, they're pushing 70 wins already this season going into the All-Star break. I believe they're going to end with 67 or 68 wins here going into the break.
And they only have a few game lead over the Yankees.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Who have had a great season themselves.
Yeah, it's incredible to get off to that kind of start of the season and still having to be looking in the mirror as Jack Smith makes good contact on that one. Center fielder shading over in time for out number 2. Cameron Briggs now coming up to the plate for his third at-bat of the game. One thing I've always been curious about, I'm sure you've gone to plenty of games over at Marlins Park. It's one of those places us fans on the West Coast don't think much about because we don't see as many games. NL West teams visit there once a year. AL West teams maybe visit there once every 4 years or so. What's it like going to a game there? It's an indoor ballpark. It's a different environment for a baseball game.
I'm going to tell you something. A lot of us on the East Coast don't think about Marlins Park that much either. But it really is one of the nicest stadiums. I mean, that's the thing, and the fact that it only opened a few years ago. So really, it is one of the nicest stadiums because they put a lot of money and a lot of effort into building that place. And in South Florida, it is just as hot, if not hotter, than it is down here.
Yeah.
And you need that roof. I mean, as a kid growing up, I used to go to a lot of games at the football stadium down there, which I think is Hard Rock Stadium now, and they've changed it a lot because of they put a awning over it now, and it looks completely different.
Doesn't even look like the same place.
But when they had the baseball there, you would go to a game, and you wouldn't even know if the game would be played that night because of the rain, and it would be every day like clockwork. 5:30.
Yeah.
It's going to rain, and by 6:30, it is not going to rain. The rain will have cleared up usually, but that means it'll be sticky, it'll be hot, the seats will be wet. People didn't go to the game, and the team was okay. Aside from the couple years where they were in the World Series, but for the most part, the team has never really been that great. So, they've had a lot of trouble drawing fans to Marlins Park and to even before that to Sun Life Stadium, just because of the fact that it was not a great product, unfortunately. And as a fan, and obviously I lived in South Florida, but then I wasn't always living in South Florida, so we would watch the games on TV and things, but we would make a trip every few months or so to be able to go down to see the games, and it really is a great park. I hope that in Tampa they finally get one built that is similar, because they have a good fan base there too, even though they don't get a lot of crowd to the games, but they have a lot of diehard fans down there that deserve to keep their team.
Cameron Briggs swings through that one, strike 3, so we will head to the top of the 5th inning up next here on the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
Fifth inning here at Pasadena, Jackie Robinson Memorial Field, is the Saints and Barons tied at 3. I'm Christy Avanzo here, we're joined by my partner Anthony Alejandres. Wyatt Kelly back out for the 5th inning. Kelly 3 runs, 2 of them earned, both of those in the 1st inning and a run in the 4th inning. First pitch swinging, that ball looped out in the left center field. It'll fall in for a base hit. Leadoff single by the leadoff hitter, Desmond Gates.
Now batting second base, number 1, Trent.
And I'll bring up Anderson now, the second baseman. Gates has had a number of hits so far this series. He had 3 hits in yesterday's game. He's got 2 hits so far in today's game. And as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Gates and Anderson sounds sort of like a law firm, but
Yeah.
the two of them table setters, being able to get on base, and obviously when they get on base, they've got a lot of speed. They cause problems, to say the least.
Yeah, it's no wonder those two never seem to move from the top of the order because they have definitely gotten the job done in this series. That one
That ball.
bounces away.
That hit him. That ball, excuse me for a second, but that ball hit Anderson. So it's a dead ball. I don't believe that Gates is allowed to move down to third. They're going to send him back over to second base. But now we've got a little bit of trouble. First and second, nobody out. Banuelos coming up to the plate. And pitching coach Matthew Troop coming out there to talk to Wyatt. From this angle, we can't really see the bullpen, but I'm sure at this point there is somebody getting loose for the Saints. We're in the 5th inning, and Kelly is somebody who they've stretched him out. Starting the season, he pitched a lot in relief, a couple of innings. He was a long relief kind of pitcher, would maybe throw 2 or 3 innings, but he's definitely worked himself into the starting rotation. Now is about usually good for about 5 or more. Last game he was worked into the 6th inning, and today he's here in the 5th. But running into a little bit of trouble here, facing the top of the order.
Josh Banuelos coming up to the plate next. 1 for 5 yesterday for the Academy Barons.
Now he's getting started designated hitter. And you see a lot of these guys don't use batting gloves, as I'm just starting to notice, but the last hitter Anderson didn't, and now Banuelos showing bunt, pulling back, but that pitch a called strike. Banuelos getting the sign again. See, one of the things I really particularly like about the CCL and that you don't really see so much as we were talking Major League Baseball a little bit last inning, but sort of the nuances of the game and the fact that sacrifice bunts are really sort of becoming out of fashion, but at this level you still see it. That ball bunted out in front of the mound. Kelly with it, going to go to third, making the play. Shepard hanging on. This is the first out there. Kelly getting the lead runner, a big out for the Saints. As the sacrifice not able to be recorded. First and second now, 1 out, and Ouellette, the big lefty, coming up to the plate.
Big heads-up play, too, because he definitely could have had an easy out at third, but he turns his head, not necessarily knowing for sure where that runner is out at third, but knowing that it's the most important out that they could have gotten, and they deliver.
You know how important it is, though, for your catcher? You could hear him saying 3-3-3 down there. You really sort of become a traffic cop in that situation when a ball bunted at the pitcher. These guys do that in practice all the time, but obviously you need a little bit of help to know, okay, do I even have a play over at third base? But a huge play there to be able to turn that. Second and third with 1 out, the dynamic of the inning shifts completely. You still have a forced play on, and Ouellette, a big hitter, but certainly somebody who you can just tell by looking at him, you could be able to turn a double play here. So a 1-0 count. Kelly delivers. That pitch on the outside corner, just catching the plate for a strike. Kelly gets the sign and gives him a nod. Looking over to the runner at second, delivers. That ball, it's chopped. Armenta having to make a play, throwing over to first. Briggs not able to make the play. The ball gets loose and goes into right field. A run is going to come in as Ouellette moves over to second base. Banuelos gets over to third base. Time called now, as that was going to be a tough play. Armenta was over at the second base bag, having to race over and make a running throw. That ball was up the line. Briggs almost able to make the play, but he wasn't able to hang on. That ball scooting into right field, and the runners are dancing on the air, and that is going to be it for Wyatt Kelly. He is going to leave today. 2 runners still on the board that could be charged to him. As the new pitcher is going to be coming in, we'll take a look and see who that is and let you know in just a second. So a good day for Kelly. Obviously, a sour taste there to end it, but being able to, even when he ran into trouble, being able to work out of it for the most part. He leaves here in the 5th inning, 4 1/3 innings for him. The new pitcher, Timothy Post, out of Columbia, he checks in now. Kerner giving him a little pat on the back there and heading over to the plate to get some warm-up throws in. He comes in a tight spot now. Runners still 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. Both of those runners are Kelly's. We'll see how they have to rule it. As that play was an error on Armenta.
Kind of one of those unfortunate things that we've seen now twice here now in these last couple days where, the potential for a great defensive play is there to get the out, but instead it results in run scoring. We saw it yesterday with the multiple rundowns they had going on against the Academy Barons that ended with a throwing error that resulted in run scoring. Unfortunate to see when things like that happen and the impact they have on the game when you see it's a close game, and yesterday it ended up being a 1-run ball game at the end.
Well, the defense is such a huge part. We don't really talk about defense very much, and when people break down the stats, you always are thinking about pitchers and hitters, but the defense is just as important. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, the errors, and every team in this league, that's probably the one thing that everybody struggles with a little bit, to being able to convert on plays where that was a tough play, no question about it. It wasn't as if that was a ball hit right to him, but that really makes a difference. If you're able to make that play, you save a run, perhaps 2, and obviously you're faced with 2 outs and a chance to get out of the inning without even giving up anything. Now you're faced trailing, still 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, so there's a good chance that they're going to be able to cash in at least one more run. Post comes in with an opportunity to shut this game down, or at least shut this inning down, and get the Saints back to the plate. And for the Saints so far, 3 runs in the 2nd inning, but nothing really since. And, that was sort of the problem they ran into yesterday as well, with 11 runs, but scoring them all in the 3rd and 4th inning of the game, and then the offense really quieting down afterwards. So now Hunter Lewis coming up to the plate. Lewis, a big first baseman, right-handed power hitter, facing Post, the new pitcher. Runners on 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. Post going to go from the stretch. The umpire says play ball. We are ready for baseball here in the top half of the 5th inning. First pitch on the way. It's grounded in the hole. Armenta over from deep and short, throws in time, making the play. Banuelos able to come in and score, so an RBI for Lewis. The Saints there playing back in the infield, trading it out for a run. So now Lucio will come up to the plate with a runner on 3rd, 2 out, and the Barons now leading by 2. It's 5-3.
And good play by Armenta, too. We saw him glance over to 3rd there to see if that was worth his time, but I think knowing better of it that he was going to be able to get the easy out at first there, and like you said, trade a run for an out. Don't want this to turn into a really long inning.
Lucio shoots that one foul out of play, hitting a tree and perhaps a car if they're parked over there.
That's why I don't park over there.
You know what? Unfortunately, I do park over there, so I hope that hit a tree and just stayed in the field.
Only one game so far that I've worked this season have I heard alarms going off after foul balls disappear here from us, so I guess we should count ourselves lucky it's only been one, because it seems like there's plenty of opportunity for
that ball hit in the shallow left field. Nay coming on over by the line, racing over and making the catch. So the Barons will leave a runner on at 3rd, but score 2 and take the lead. We go to the bottom of the 5th. It's Academy Barons 5 and your Arroyo Seco Saints 3. We will be back with the bottom of the 5th inning here on the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network.
Fifth inning. Third baseman from Miami, Ohio, number 4, Colin Shepard.
Welcome back here in the bottom of the 5th inning. The Saints now trailing in this one 5-3. Colin Shepard coming up, leading off for the Saints. Shepard, I believe, is 0 so far in this game, looking to get his first hit of the ballgame after a 1 for 5 yesterday. No, Shepard with an RBI single earlier in the 2nd inning, so he's got 1 hit in today's game. Facing Spencer Herford, still in the Barons starter. Is that pitch bunted but popped foul?
Right in front of us here.
Banging off the screen right in front of us. Anthony lunging over to make a play on that one. Not able to get there.
Forgot about the fence. Hurt my face a little bit.
As Dalton A making a little cameo in our broadcast, racing over to pick up that foul ball. 0-1 to count now to Shepard. That pitch missing away. That ball pulled on the ground. Lewis knocking it down, flipping over to the pitcher, covering, and able to recover in time to make the play.
Yeah, Hunter Lewis, he fumbled around with that so much, I thought he was going to end up missing the out there.
There was a good chance that they were going to be able to turn that into a base runner.
Yeah.
As I was talking about earlier, the defense, questionable at times, but able to recover. Just got to keep the ball in front of you. You can make a play, and the pitcher able to race over there and cover the bag. So Shepard is down. Drew Cowley now coming up to the plate. Cowley, with the prolific numbers coming into today's game, batting .336, and as I mentioned earlier, 16 RBIs is the team lead. Nobody on base right now. If he's going to pick up an RBI, he's going to need to put a ball over the fence. He's got a ball and no strikes. Herford still in the game, giving up 3 runs in the 2nd inning, but has been effective for the most part today, as both starting pitchers making it through at least to the 5th inning. As we mentioned earlier, Wyatt Kelly, the starter for the Saints, leaving after 4 1/3 innings, giving up 5 total runs. We'll have to check to see how many of those were earned.
Yeah.
Ball on a strike on the way. That ball is shouted out in the left center field, shallow. Left fielder Dean there to make the play. And so very quickly now, 2 outs already, and Dalton A coming up to the plate.
Also want to add here, I mean, despite the out, we talked about, how great Drew Cowley's been doing lately. He is the number 6 ranked hitter currently in the CCL, which is really saying something considering, we've seen how loaded up some of these rosters are. We've faced the Santa Barbara Foresters too many times this year to not know how stacked some of these teams are.
Some heated contest against Santa Barbara.
Yeah, the Foresters have 3 guys in the top 5 in batting average this season, and then Drew Cowley just slightly behind that, not by much, having a very good season for himself, a .347 batting average this season in the CCL.
For sure, great year by Cowley. Nay taking that one, trying to duck out of the way, make it look like that was high, but catching the belt. As a call is striking now, Nay behind the count, 0-2.
And of course, as we're approaching the All-Star break, if you will, for the CCL, there are plenty of games going on here this weekend, and we had some out-of-town scores last night. I'll go ahead and run through for us. So the Conejo Oaks visited the Orange County Riptide last night. Riptide took the win in that one 6-1. Luke Bandy hit a 2-run home run that helped propel the OC Riptide to the win. Healdsburg Prune Packers in a non-league game ended up winning that one 2-0 over a Great West Conference team. And we will have more on that later, as that will wrap up the inning for the Arroyo Seco Saints. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. Anthony Alejandro's here. Saints trail this one 5-3 currently to the MLB Academy Barons. This is Game 3 of the series. And joined right now by Brennan McKenzie, number 18 here for the Arroyo Seco Saints. Thank you for joining us, first of all.
Yeah, of course.
And Brennan, I mean, we're coming off a tough loss yesterday, but you guys still, have the series win, essentially, if you win this game here. How much was that emphasized to you guys yesterday following, tough loss, but it's like, it's one game, but, there's more going on than just that.
Yeah. I mean, it's always big to take a series from somebody, especially in a 3-game series. We're tied 1-1, so, it'll be good to go out here and get a win today and take the series from these guys.
And you go to Cal Poly Pomona, and you guys got a pretty solid baseball squad over there. Yeah. You're a Southern California guy, but I am curious what drove you to make the decision to go to that school to play baseball? I'm sure you've had multiple choices, and you ended up going to.
No, I really didn't.
Oh,
I really didn't. They're the only school that really offered me. It was I went on one other visit to Cal State Dominguez Hills where they potentially could have offered me too, but no, Cal Poly was the only one that really offered me, and I like the school and I like the program and everything like that. So.
And I was going to get to a little bit to the the CCAA that you play in, because I actually go to Cal State Dominguez Hills myself.
Oh, do you?
So I was gonna bring that up a little bit, but that is interesting. You visited Cal State Dominguez Hills,
Right.
but so far during your time at Cal Poly Pomona, how have you liked it there?
Oh, I loved it. It's a great program. We work hard every day. It's just a grind. Trying to get better. So I know we got a good recruit class coming in this year. So hopefully have a good season.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're out here, summer ball. You got some teammates here on the Saints. You got some teammates on some other teams. And I'm just curious what made the decision for you to join the Saints this offseason. As I said, you are a Southern California guy. We got a lot of teams in the CCL that play here in Southern California. What brought you to this team?
Well, I played here last year for half a season, so I like the environment here. I like Aaron, the GM, and really my coaches know some of the coaches that coach here. They know Aaron, so they kind of just hooked it up for me. So it's a good place to play. It's a good league, so it's not too far.
What are these off days like for you? Where you maybe get a pinch hit late in the game, or maybe you end up getting the whole day off. What is there any routine that you go through?
Yeah, just trying to stay loose in the dugout. Just in case you do get cold. Just always paying attention to the game, trying to stay locked in. So that way, when you do get cold, you're not kind of like lost when you get in there. So that's pretty much all it is. Trying to keep it light, relax a little bit.
It has been tough sledding at times for you guys this season, and as we have a hit by pitch here, that is Cameron Dean, who's going to be moving over to first, and now we have runners on first and second for the Academy Barons. But I was just going to say, a team like the Barons are, right there with you guys in the standings, and obviously there's a lot of separation with the top two teams. So how seriously do you guys take, games like this where, you guys have the chance to move up in the standings? 4 teams make the playoffs in the CCL, and obviously, even though we are getting later in the season, you guys still, want to kind of get as far as you can up in the grid.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to win, so I don't think anyone's coming out here trying to lose or anything like that. So I think everyone just comes out here and does, plays as best as they can to the best of their abilities. So yeah.
So, being from Southern California, are you LA Dodgers? Are you Los Angeles Angels, or do you?
I'm actually a Red Sox fan.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been a Red Sox fan my whole life, but I do like the Dodgers too.
Okay.
They're kind of my National League team, so
Yeah.
I like to root for the Dodgers.
Well, your Red Sox are having an incredible season so
they
far.
are. Yeah, they are. Fires me up.
Yeah, and then we got the MLB All-Star Game coming up, and they're pretty well represented there as well.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, Mookie Betts and JD Martinez.
I got to tell you though, I'm an Arizona Diamondbacks fan. It hurts me to see JD Martinez on the Red Sox now because he just raked for them last year late in the season.
Yeah, that's where he took off.
Yeah, and so it does hurt me to see him there a little bit, but he is having an incredible season. Big pickup for the Red Sox.
He is. Yeah.
Runners on first and second here for the Academy Barons. We're at the top of the 6th inning. The Saints trail this one 3-5 currently to the Academy Barons. And currently a mound visit here for Timothy Post. You have the opportunity to get out to any ball games, you know?
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure you guys have a lot on your plate here. You got summer ball going, and then be back in school before long.
Yeah, I mean, no, I haven't really had a chance to get out and do much of anything, just you play every day. It's kind of like you get into like a little routine, my routine is I just wake up, work out, come here, go home, get some dinner, go to bed. So
absolutely. And outside of being a student athlete, I mean, you're over at Cal Poly Pomona. What are you currently studying in school?
I'm a sociology major with a minor in criminology.
Yeah.
So I just actually switched over from kinesiology. Okay. So see how I like it.
Yeah. And you guys were in the CCA playoffs this year out in Stockton. How'd you like Banner Island Ballpark?
Oh, Banner Island, it's beautiful. I like playing there. It's a hitter's paradise for sure. The ball definitely flies there a little bit, but yeah, it's a nice park.
Yeah, I'm from Northern California originally, and visited many of the single A ballparks in that area, and Banner Island Ballpark definitely by far the nicest one. There's some good ones out there. The San Jose Giants play in a nice spot.
Right.
The Modesto Nuts, which is a very interesting team name, they play in an alright ballpark, but definitely the Stockton Port's top-notch place.
It is. Very nice facilities.
And as pitch here is outside. 1-0 the count. How do you like the ballpark you guys are playing at over there at Cal Poly Pomona?
The field itself is fantastic. I like it. The playing surface is really nice. Our facilities, on the other hand, could use some work and probably a little bit of money thrown at them, but you got to work with what you got. So I just kind of look at it as building character.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what my coach says too.
I feel like every baseball season, no matter what, it's a grind for you guys, but playing in summer league, what's that like for you guys where it's like, despite it being a grind still, it is a short season, and in a way it's kind of like it's a sprint, You guys
it is, definitely.
Play in a pretty short season. What's that like for you as a player to play in, probably the shortest schedule you're used to playing in?
Right. I mean, it's a lot of games in a short amount of time, so, it's definitely, I've never really done like a season like this before where I played every day for like this long. I did it last year, but it was only for, like I said, like half a season, like 3 weeks. So, I mean, it's fun, you get to come out here every day. I mean, get the off days when you need it if you're feeling a little beat up. It's just a lot of communication between you and your coaches. So
yeah, and I feel like throughout the broadcast this season, when we've been talking about stats for you guys, I keep making a point to say thus far in the season because it feels like we're not that far in, but I find myself continuing to say it when there's only 9 games left in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it really is a sprint, but certainly as we get a hit here for Desmond Gates, another run is going to score here for the Academy Barons. Make it a 6-3 ball game. Still no outs here in the top of the 6th inning. Now Trent Anderson coming up to the plate here for the Academy Barons. And then we've got the prospect game coming up here on Wednesday night at the MLB Academy. You got some teammates being represented in there. Obviously, every team gets some players in there, but, I mean, you're with these guys every day. You know how well deserving they are of this opportunity. How great is that to have that kind of representation in the game for the Saints?
It's pretty cool, That's a pretty big game from what I've heard. It's televised, right? So for those guys to be able to pitch in it or play in it is pretty cool. So they're really good ball players and they deserved it.
Absolutely. As we got a mound visit right now here for the Arroyo Seco Saints. Jesse Reed coming into the game here now for the Arroyo Seco Saints. Tough stretch here this part of the inning. And Jesse Reed going to get warmed up here, and we'll be back in a moment on the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. Welcome back on the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. Anthony Alejandrez here alongside Chris Diavanzo, who's back in the booth with us here. We do thank Brennan McKenzie for joining us today as we resume action here. And Chris has got some information for us on our new pitcher, Jesse Reed.
So Jesse Reed, as you mentioned, checking into the game. Jesse, 15 innings pitched with a 2.4 ERA as he fouls that one back. Jesse actually has the lowest ERA on the team for any pitcher who's thrown more than just one inning. So Cameron Briggs has a 0 ERA, but he's only thrown 1 inning this season. The next guy, Jesse Reed, 15 innings, 2.4 ERA. He's been one of the most effective relievers for the Saints this season. So obviously bringing him in his spot, bases are loaded, nobody out, and a now 3-run deficit. That was a big pitch. So Jesse coming in very quickly, working and obviously throwing strikes ahead in the count now, 0-2.
Just a tough inning so far for the Saints.
As that gets even tougher, Smith bottling that ball. And 2 runs coming in to score.
Big damage this inning, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Still no outs.
Bad. It's going from bad to worse now. Still nobody out, as you mentioned. Banuelos coming up. Now that was a ball hit up the middle. Okay. You think that maybe the pitcher's able to knock that down, but it got through for a base hit. 1 run, 2 runs are going to score for sure. But then a bobble by Smith, allowing the runners to advance 90 feet. So now you lose the force out. Still nobody out. And already now a 5-run lead for the Barons. So they're really starting. They can smell the blood in the water. They're putting this game away. As Banuelos getting drilled by that pitch.
Bases loaded up now for the Barons, so things continuing to go from bad to worse. Granted, I think it went from bad to worse a while ago, but nonetheless, insult to injury here.
I jinxed Reed. I said I gave him all of these good numbers, and you know he comes in and gives up a couple of hits right away, and 1 hit, and then he hits a batter. But now still the bases loaded. 2 runs in against those runs, both charged to posts. So he exits, I believe, with 3 runs allowed.
Yep.
All of them earned. Bases loaded here, nobody out.
Also want to take a moment to thank our guests on the show, or on the game broadcast today, Brennan McKenzie and Brian McConnell. Their names sound the same, but two interviews for us today, 3rd inning and 6th inning. Much needed first out there for the Saints.
Yeah, high pop-up. Briggs is an infielder, as we mentioned. He can play every infield spot. He's played outfield spots and pitched an inning this season. He's one of the most versatile guys on the team. Getting some work in at first base today. And that ball, that was an easy pop-up. Even you, I think, would have been able to make a play on that one.
Not so sure about that, man. You really are giving me way more athletic ability than I actually have.
No, that just tells you how high and how slowly hit that pop-up was. But yes, only the first out as Lewis smokes that ball down the left field line. Goes foul and out of play.
Long way to travel there for that one.
Now batting first base from Indiana State, number 20, Hunter Lewis.
So this is a crucial part of the game. A 5-run lead, as we mentioned, 5 runs it's a sizable margin, no doubt. But you know, you're faced with a situation where you could be facing a 9 or 10 run deficit potentially if you don't let this inning, if you don't stop this right now, as that ball clips him in the shoulder.
Another run going to come in here on the hit by pitch.
And so now you're looking at 9-3. Lucio coming up. Lucio hit that home run yesterday that put the game out of reach. And you think, well, okay, 6 runs is quite a bit. But if they fall down 9 or 10 runs here in this inning, you know, you might as well just pack it up.
Absolutely. And we're at a point in the game right now still where I subscribe to the idea in the CCL that as that one is foul, at this point in the game, a deficit like this, though, like you said, it's a lot of runs. I mean, we've seen that change in such a hurry in the CCL. We saw it yesterday. We've seen it in plenty of other games this season with the Saints where they've faced large deficits and been able to close it down. So that's where, stranding these runners becomes ever so important.
Yeah, 6 runs is not an impossible hill to climb. But the more that score as that ball gets past Briggs and into right field. The more runs that come in to score now, as it's an 8-run deficit, the less likely, of course, it is that you are able to come back and score and or come back to score and take the lead.
Yeah.
So now facing an 8-run deficit this inning with 6 runs in now for the Barons. They really are putting their feet to the pedal at this point. Wilson now coming up.
Wilson coming up here after a couple of Barons batters have gotten hit this inning. Certainly wouldn't want to see him get hit for a 4th time in this series.
Certainly, because it would load the bases. Although they already hit a man this inning.
Yeah.
I think we might need to start going back to all-star talk if it really starts to get out of hand.
I think you're right. We can talk about kind of the bummer of a lineup for the home run derby this year. And another run going to score here for the Barons. When it rains, it pours, and that's been the case here this inning.
They ran a little hit and run there, and that was actually why that ball was hit right at where Cowley was positioned. But as you noticed, he was moving over to second base to cover the steal, so it was a hit and run of perfection. We're at a point in the game. We've had a few issues so far this season with a few teams where you guys they're sending runners or moving on the bases in games where they have big leads, and so now it makes me wonder, an 8-run lead, you're running a hit and run play, but they ran a hit and run, and because that ball was able to get in right field, the runner that was on base, beyond just the 1 run they came in to score, was able to come around and score as well. So now they've got a man on first base, 1 out, and a 10-run deficit.
We are just at about the 2-hour mark on this game, approaching it. 91 degrees now in Pasadena. Hot one here today.
And it feels a little bit hotter when the game starts to get out of hand, don't you think?
Absolutely. You start to notice stuff like that a lot more. Saints in the all-white uniforms today. Academy Barons, the gray and blue with Barons across the chest, and the red helmets.
It's a nice look. The Academy Barons have a good set of uniforms. I've always talked about the Saints, and I think that definitely the Saints have some of the nicest uniforms in the CCL, but the Barons, I've been impressed with their overall look, especially their home uniforms.
Yeah, the color combinations and everything, it reminds me of a few different teams. Sometimes, I look at like these road ones, I think, Toronto Blue Jays a little bit, but you see like the blue and red hats, kind of a Chicago Cubs kind of look.
Mm-hmm. That's who they remind me of the most, the Chicago Cubs.
And another thing that it kind of reminds me of, like when I look over there at the third base coach and I see his Barons t-shirt, it just gives me a Montreal Expos kind of feel. It has that look about it.
Montreal Expos, what a throwback.
Yep.
That's something. I'll bring that up next inning if you want, but we'll talk about baseball. They're trying to bring baseball back to Canada, and perhaps even in Mexico.
Yeah.
Montreal, Montreal's problem right now is that they don't have a suitable stadium.
Yeah.
The Olympic Stadium, that was the reason why the Expos left to begin with, because the Olympic Stadium, going as far back to the 1990s, was not a suitable facility. So now it's still there and they still use it, and sometimes you see the Blue Jays will play spring training games up there. Or exhibition contests.
Yeah.
That was a good pitch by Reed there. Fastball on the outside corner.
Out number 2.
Florida guy from Stetson. Martin. Stetson is a very good baseball program. And we know some of the major leaguers. Jacob deGrom was somebody who came out of Stetson.
Yeah.
From DeLand, Florida. Not too far from where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I have friends who attend the university. Oh, that ball clanging off the wall there as Wilson rounding third, coming in to score. Time called an RBI double there, and it is now 14-3. That is a certifiable football score, Anthony.
Absolutely. We're right across the street from the Rose Bowl, too, so football theme, really running here in Pasadena.
Wilson getting there to second base. Just missing a home run there, too. That ball was, Martin scorching that ball, hitting off of the base of the wall.
So second touchdown of the game completed here for the Academy Barons. So far, the Saints pushed across a field goal in this one.
Yeah, sixth inning, what would that be, about halftime?
Roughly.
Maybe early third quarter?
Yeah.
All right, Reed with the bouncer. Flipping over to first in time. We'll go to the bottom of the sixth inning. The Saints now trailing by 11. It's 14-3. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Academy Baron 14, Arroyo Seco Saints.
I know. I can't imagine if Brennan was still. So is this still Hereford? Yeah. Hereford?
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. Anthony Alejandres here alongside Chris Diavanzo. We are at the bottom of the sixth inning, finally, for the Arroyo Seco Saints.
Finally, yes. That was quite a long inning. I believe they scored 9 runs?
I think you're right.
Although Jenkins there getting a nice base hit to start things off.
Yep. Good way to get things started after a really tough inning for them defensively. And now Mitch Kerner coming up to the plate. We see Bryce Gray there picking up the bat. We talked about how great of a game he had yesterday. Mitch Kerner now coming up to the plate for the Saints. Flied out a couple times in this one.
Yeah, Kerner 0 for so far, but you'd love to see him get a base hit here. Obviously, we've mentioned that he's a productive hitter, and when he gets in the lineup, he does get a lot of hits. You know, whenever you're faced in a situation where you're trailing by a lot of runs, as a hitter at least, you know, well, it's kind of selfish to think this way, but it's, well, at least I have 2 more at-bats. Let me get my numbers, you know, at the very least, if you're going to lose by 15-4 or 14-3, let me at least go 2 for 4. That ball flied out there in the shallow left field, but Cameron Dean able to make the catch.
Now batting pinch hitter number 5, Bryce Gray.
And Bryce Gray, who we talked about moments ago, coming in to pinch hitting this one.
Yeah, he's relieving Tristan Peterson. So Peterson's day is done. He had the RBI single in the second inning. So a base hit for Peterson. But now Bryce Gray coming up to bat. Bryce, I know his family has been in attendance the last few games. There to witness him yesterday, and we were going to talk to Bryce about that before the game obviously got out of hand as he pulls that one down to third. And the double play wraps things up. So we'll go to the top of the 7th. 14-3 the score. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network. Welcome back to Jackie Robinson Field here. And a special thanks to those of you sticking around so far here in the 7th inning, as this game it's gotten out of hand, to say the least. It's 14-3 as we get into the 7th inning. I'm Christy Avanzo. I'm joined by Anthony Alejandres. We're here for 3 more innings, and we'll take you through to the end of this ball game. Right now, we're hoping for maybe a little bit of a miracle. Obviously, the theme of this weekend right now has been a lot of high-scoring games and comebacks. So, yesterday, if you were an Academy Barons fan after an 11-4 deficit going into the 7th inning, you were probably thinking, oh boy, a blowout, something that you weren't really feeling well about the result of that game. And then, of course, the 3 innings, the offense explodes and you score 8 runs and come back and win. Today, the Saints facing a 14-3 deficit. So obviously needing a lot of runs and a lot of base hits with only a couple of outs. It's Jackson Bond, the new pitcher in for the Saints. Bond, the left-handed knuckleballer out of Cal State, LA. And we had Bond on the broadcast earlier this week talking to him about his philosophy as a pitcher, his knuckleball. And, he's worked with Charlie Huff. As a Dodgers fan, if any Dodgers fans are listening, you guys are familiar. A Marlins fan, obviously, I'm familiar because Huff was the opening day pitcher in 1993, the first pitcher ever to don a Marlins uniform. And he was a mentor of sorts to Jackson. We've talked about the knuckleballers being sort of a fraternity. And Anthony, as that pitch misses low in the dirt, ball 4, leadoff walk. Anthony, the knuckleball is one of the rarest pitchers in all of baseball, but obviously has, with the success of guys like Tim Wakefield and R.A. Dickey and now Stephen Wright on the Red Sox, has sort of come a little bit more into fashion. It's something that you really don't see a whole lot, especially from a left-hander, but it's something that Jackson tries to make work,
Absolutely, and it's one of those things it's just interesting to watch, and it's good to have a guy like that on this team that, we can observe these different style of pitches, it's one of those styles that you'd like to see.
Jackson is definitely one of the more interesting guys on the team, especially getting to know him. You realize that and they say that knuckleballers and lefties are wired a little bit differently, and they're definitely guys that are not cut from the same cloth, so to speak. And Jackson is definitely somebody who fits that. He's one of the most interesting guys in the team. Definitely somebody who's cerebral, to say the least. But he's got his arm sleeve tattoo and metal music playing in the clubhouse. He's somebody that and a mohawk, of course, and goatee. We definitely love to mess with him. But he's one of the nicest guys on the team. And of course, getting a little bit of work in today.
Yeah.
I'm sure at this point we're going to see some guys coming into the game that maybe don't get to pitch every day, or you might see Jacob Jenkins coming in, or Briggs, or somebody who's only thrown a little bit so far this season. As that ball bounced out to second base, Cali will go on to second for 1 on the first. Not in time. Benuelos able to beat the throw. A good stretch by Briggs, not able to bring that ball in. So we were talking a little bit in the break as Ouellette comes up to the plate now about some of the state of baseball. We've been talking a lot of baseball. We were talking All-Stars earlier in the game, and obviously you mentioned the Montreal Expos, and that these uniforms remind you a little bit of the Expos. And for our younger baseball fans, the Montreal Expos, I'm not sure, as that ball bunted up the third base line and just rolling foul. That ball went all the way down the line, just going foul before it crossed third base. So there was not even a batter over there. They were shifting him pretty much to the pull side. That ball had a base hit written all over it, able to go foul. So we were talking a little bit. The Montreal Expos, for our younger fans, if they are not aware, are the former Washington Nationals playing in Montreal from the 1960s up until 2004. Obviously, do not exist anymore. But one of the things that baseball is very much interested in doing at this point is expanding back into Canada and going over into Mexico. And we were talking about Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Rays potentially being one of those teams that has been rumored to move about a bit. And I know, Anthony, you're from Northern California, somebody who's around the Oakland area sometimes and have been to the Oco Coliseum, I'm sure. What do you think about the possibility that the Oakland A's might become the Las Vegas A's at some point, or the Mexico City A's, or?
I've thought about it a little bit, and I honestly do have a hard time imagining it happening, because despite the fact that, you're watching Oakland sports teams just disappear left and right at this point, I don't imagine them without an actual sports, pro sports team there. And the Oakland A's, it just so happens that, the city of Oakland is really lucky for this, are the cheapest organization in Major League Baseball, and they will play in that ballpark likely until it falls apart, which isn't far from happening, by the way. Every time that I've gone to a game there, it looks a little bit worse. It's kind of like a big dumpster. And you didn't get to hear this story. A couple nights ago, I was telling Steven this, and you'll really appreciate this because it just totally tells you what the Coliseum is like these days. Went there for a Raiders game a couple years ago, and I was just kind of looking around.
That pitch gets away.
Looking around.
I was able to advance to second base on that.
Just looking around before the game starts from the second deck, and I'm looking to the bottom one, and I see a guy in a Raiders jersey fixing his seat with tools. So not a maintenance person,
just a
fan. And so that's kind of the conditions there. Stuff is falling apart. I take it they don't have maintenance people there if they're, if they're having people fix it with tools.
No, the maintenance people, they know that they've got some of the best fans in the NFL. They'll fix their seats for them. But the Raiders can't wait to get out of there. They're going to be leaving at the end of this year.
Yeah.
And then going down to their shiny new digs in Las Vegas. And I know a lot of people in Oakland are going to still be Raiders fans. But obviously, the A's don't have quite the same sort of national support outside of the Bay Area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, of course, the Golden State Warriors still make Oakland their home. That pitch missing, called strike on the outside corner. Bond able to get a called strike 3 in the last at-bat, working his knuckleball. That pitch, of course, as you can see it dancing, and, the knuckleball, one of the slowest pitches in the game. That one missing outside for a ball.
Yeah, and like you said, not a lot of support outside of the local area for the A's, and I just don't imagine, Major League Baseball being in the business of moving a team out of a market into one where there, isn't necessarily the potential following for them.
That ball skied in the left field, Nay coming in, reaching up, making the catch, and so the Barons will leave Banuelos out there at second base. We'll stand and stretch here in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's Academy 14, Arroyo Seco 3. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Angelo Armenta.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network here. Angelo Armenta coming up for the Saints to lead off here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Armenta was featured on Twitter and on Instagram today in the lineup picture and the uniform report. And as we've said pretty much all season long, if you're featured, you're due to get a hit. Armenta so far 0 for, but definitely due. As Cameron Briggs, you see him coming into your screen there to make a play on the ball. Armenta so far, I believe 0 for 3 in today's game.
Important to remind everybody, too, while on the subject, to follow the Saints on all our social media accounts. Got some good stuff for you on Instagram and Twitter. You can stream us like you are right now on YouTube. catch us on Facebook. And I mean, the really cool thing is before the games, you can see the lineups and everything. You can see the uniforms they're going to wear, and that's the kind of thing you get. You can follow your favorite major league teams on social media and find that stuff, and we have that available too.
And of course, that ball is skied out over, but out of play. And of course, on days where we're not bringing you the game live on YouTube, you're able to follow us as we live tweet, and of course post score updates regularly on Instagram and on Facebook as well. So follow us on Twitter at Arroyo Seco _base, and on Instagram, I believe it is at Arroyo Seco Saints.
Yep.
And of course, you can look up Arroyo Seco Saints on Facebook as well. Like us on Facebook. Armenta fouling that pitch back and putting up a good battle here. Still 0-2 the count.
And to go back a little bit to some of this Major League Baseball talk we've had going on, you and me talked a little bit about the Tampa Bay Rays and just the poor stadium situation they have there.
My poor Tampa Bay Rays. I know I've mentioned I'm a Marlins fan, but growing up in Florida, you kind of, especially the fact that they're in both different leagues, American League and National League, I don't know anybody who isn't a fan of either one team and also supports the other, or vice versa. And that especially was the case with me growing up, that Tampa Bay had that run for a few years, 2008 to like 2013, say, where they were in the postseason almost every year as that pitch misses outside. Tampa Bay was one of the top teams in the American League for a number of years. A Moneyball team just like Oakland.
Yep.
And, didn't quite have the fan base, and a lot of times they would be playing games where the home fans were outnumbered by the away fans. That pitch missing up and in. And it's unfortunate because, the reality is that unless Tampa Bay gets a suitable stadium situation within the next few years, I would say it's very likely that they're going to be moved or sold to somebody who's going to look to move them to Las Vegas or to Montreal or Vancouver. That ball lined in right center field is going to fall down for a base hit, and there you go. Armenta with a single, second hit of the season.
You said it, he delivered.
And I told you, you get featured in that lineup pick, you're getting the hit. It is the agreement. These guys wouldn't do it unless they knew they were getting the base hit. So
absolutely.
Armenta with the single, bringing up Jack Smith now.
Yeah. And to further your point, it would be really unfortunate to see that happen where they end up, out of that market, because despite only having, a few, contending years in their existence, I think because they didn't win a World Series, people forget how fun of a team that was to watch at one point. The best years of Evan Longoria's career, David Price pitched very well for them up until the postseason, unfortunately, for many of those years. James Shields in his younger days was over there.
Matt Garza, another one.
Yeah.
Matt Garza with that great Game 7 against the Boston Red Sox in the ALCS.
And then
that pitch over for a strike.
Despite the not-so-great career he's had, Melvin Upton Jr. put together a great postseason that year when they went to the World Series.
Back when he was BJ.
Yeah.
And he had earned that name. It's late in the broadcast.
Melvin Upton Jr. and his brother Justin Upton. Just to be clear, there's not a third brother, despite the three different names that we, have heard of the brothers.
Right, Melvin. The BJ stands for Boss Man Jr., which is what apparently his father was known as, Boss Man Upton. 1-2, swing and a miss in the dirt. That ball gets away. Smith running down to first base, but he cannot advance because of the man that was occupied at first, so the umpire will call him back. Armenta advancing, though, to second base on the wild pitch. And so now Briggs will come to the plate with a runner in scoring position and one down. A chance to maybe pick up an RBI and get a base hit for today. Briggs reached base in the first inning on an error. And I believe since then has been held rather quiet in today's game.
Yeah.
As you might be able to hear, he's listening to a little bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers as his walk-up song. Now, I don't know if you can hear it or not because we've kept this under wraps today, but we've had a little bit of technical difficulties on our broadcast. We're winging it. That ball shot down the right field line, but tailing foul. We're winging it today. We can't. We don't even know if you guys can hear us. We're just talking aloud, and nobody has told us that nothing's going through.
Yeah. So we hope you can hear us. At times, we hope you don't, because there's some mistakes here and there.
This might be a silent broadcast. We might be just trying something new out today.
It's also worth pointing out we are the B team pretty much here on the broadcast crew.
B+ though.
Yeah.
That's to say the least.
Yep.
So Briggs now 0-1 the count. This is actually my first game doing play-by-play today. I've done a couple of games filling in on the color side.
And this is my first multiple innings play-by-play experience here with the Arroyo Seco Saints. Enjoying every moment of it despite the score.
Well, this is our summer league experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously we don't get out on the field, and if we did, we probably wouldn't do that great.
Yeah.
But if we, this is our job. We come out here, we do broadcasting, and I do a lot of the media as well. You always see me doing post-game interviews and writing game recaps, and so it's always nice to be able to stretch your skills out a little bit, and that's part of the purpose of Summer League too, is to sort of expand past your comfort zone and get into some things that you maybe wouldn't necessarily be getting into in your normal day-to-day life or whatever it is that you're doing during the fall and spring. I know you do quite a bit with the radio up there at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Yeah.
You were telling me off air that you do a sports radio show weekly.
Yep.
Go ahead and plug the show.
The KDHR Sports Hub, not a very creative name, but I do the show by myself, and when I was talking to the program director there, he just told me, I'm an intern there, and one day he just said, all right, it's time to get your show going. He starts, filling out the information, what time it's going to start and everything, and then I needed a name for it, and I was just, all right, let's do the KDHR Sports Hub.
Now, did they put you on at 4:30 in the morning, or did they give you a good time?
Luckily, I got a good time. I got Mondays right after the weekend of sports, and I get to go on there in the afternoon, a 2 p.m. start, 1 hour show.
That's a pretty good slot.
Pretty solid time, and fun stuff, talk about a little bit of everything, and
we didn't have anything like that. I'm a Florida State graduate, and we didn't have anything like that at Florida State. We had a radio station, but we did mostly music, and you'd have sports segments maybe at the top of the hour. Briggs shooting that one over to second base. Anderson fielding, throwing on a first in time. The runner Armenta advancing over to third base. Now 2 outs, and the pinch hitter now coming up, Marco Martinez. Martinez, the freshman coming into USC this season, as a high schooler, batted .387 as a career high schooler. And you know what? That's going to be it for Hereford today. Great effort out of Hereford. 6 2/3 innings, 3 runs allowed, potentially 4. The man on third base will be charged to him if he comes in to score. But the Barons finally going to the bullpen after a long day here in the sun. Hereford battling all day long, and obviously given plenty of run support to work with. So he was able to get through to the 7th inning. He exits now, and with 2 outs, Martinez will be coming up for the Saints. So you do a show. And you talk all kinds of sports, and we've been talking sports throughout the day. And is it safe to say that baseball is your number one sport, or are you more of a basketball guy, or what is it?
So I am a baseball guy first and foremost, but there's also other things that are influenced on the show. I like to do a little bit of crossover on this show because I do another show that's not affiliated with the school, but the interviews kind of work a little bit universally. So I've been working with a NASCAR team for the last 3 years up in Northern California, Bill McAnally Racing. They're a NASCAR K&N Pro Series team. They got a bunch of great young drivers, and we get these interviews with these guys. We do a show for them. We preview their races, and additionally, it's nice to be able to bring that stuff to a new audience. So every now and then.
Well, that was exactly what I was thinking. That you don't really think of NASCAR. The NASCAR has sort of a stigma of it being like a southern sport.
Sure.
And obviously, I know plenty of people from Florida that are big into NASCAR, but you think of it as sort of, and even where the races are like Charlottesville and Virginia, and like Tennessee and elsewhere, you think of it as more of a southern sport. Northern California, you don't tend to associate that area with NASCAR. So it's interesting that you bring that sort of to that audience.
Yeah. So there's the highest levels of NASCAR, obviously, that go nationally, and then the team I work with are in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series, which is kind of a developmental level of NASCAR where you see plenty of young drivers as young as 15 years old that are trying to make it up through the ranks. And this team is top notch. They've got 8 championships in their
15 years old. They don't even have their own driver's license yet, and yet they're out there on the track driving stock cars.
Yeah. So this team they're first class in their league, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West. They race in their region. They got 8 championships, and they've won the last 3 in a row. So it's been a great experience to get to talk to these guys. One of those guys who was 15-year-olds when I started interviewing him, Todd Gilliland, is a national level driver now in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Chris Eggleston, another one, K&N Pro Series champion, moving on to bigger and better things. So it's a fun thing when you get to interview these guys when they're racing at a level that is considered developmental, and now to move on to a higher level. It's cool to see stuff like that, and like you said...
Well, we're experiencing that a little bit in the summer league with some of our players. Obviously, you got a number of these guys who are going to go on to have professional careers, and whether that's in the minor leagues, I'm sure that either players we've seen on the Saints or elsewhere on the other teams are going to go on to have major league careers. So it'll be interesting to see even at that level where guys you got to know during the summertime going on to play Major League Baseball or minor league baseball, and it's the same thing you're talking about. So now we're back here.
Absolutely, great point.
Back here, bottom of the 7th inning, 2 down. Runner on third base, that's Angelo Armenta. Marco Martinez, his USC counterpart, although Armenta is transferring. Martinez coming up, first pitch is a breaking ball over the plate for a called strike. The new pitcher for the Barons, number 17, Stevens, coming in now for the Barons.
Yeah, Joshua Stevens.
Stevens, an effective reliever, but obviously part of the B squad for the Barons is they're getting, again, in some work for some guys who maybe don't pitch a whole lot.
Yep.
That's some of the benefits of being in a game like this where, you're going to get some work in if you're not necessarily a guy who throws every day. We had Brian McConnell on the broadcast earlier. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get into the game today.
Absolutely.
So a ball and a strike here to Martinez, 2 down, the pitch.
Yeah, Joshua Stevens, as you said, one of these guys we're seeing here late in the game. Haven't really gotten a look at him yet in this series, but 16 innings pitched on the season, an ERA of 6.75. And we will see what we get out of him here.
Martinez bouncing that one foul. And shaking our camera about. We'll move that in the commercial break.
Unless you guys like it.
You get a great shot of the first base coach and the umpire. Of course, we're not in the major leagues. You have 50 different camera angles.
Yeah.
But we do a great job, I think. I'm just tooting our own horn, but I think we do a great job here on the Arroyo Seco broadcast. That pitch, called strike 3 on the outside corner. Martinez is down on strikes. We're going to go to the 8th inning here. The Saints trailing by 11. It's 14-3, going to the top of the 8th here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Now pitching for the Saints from Cortland University, number 35, J.D. Rusamana.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network. I am Anthony Alejandrez alongside Chris Diavanzo. We're the B Squad here for the Arroyo Seco broadcasts, and we are in the 8th inning now of this ball game. Having some fun out here despite a unfortunate score here today for the Saints thus far, and certainly hope we get to see some offense on display here for these final 2 innings. The score is 14-3 right now in favor of the Academy Barons. And right now, Christian Lucio coming up to the plate for the Academy Barons. We got J.D. Rusamano on the mound for the Arroyo Seco Saints.
Rusamano, 17 in the 3rd inning so far this season with a 7.27 ERA. He's been used in a variety of different roles. He's pitched some in relief, some as a starter. And you've seen him even in games where he started, maybe will only throw 2 or 3 innings. So it's been interesting to see he's getting some work in here today, down 11.
Chris, you're a Florida State guy. We've talked about that a little bit, but I think one of the things that's cool about, or what I'd imagine would be cool about going to a place that has, strong ties to, big sports programs and everything. Must be a lot of fun to go to schools like that where, you get to see some great athletes.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the amount of players who play on the FSU football team that go into the NFL per year, obviously there's 6 or 7 guys per year that make it. And then you think of guys like Dalvin Cook, who was a superstar, and a friend of mine had a class with Dalvin Cook, and I don't want to say too much. He's out of school now, but he's a guy that would come into class to sign his name on the roll sheet and then leave. You know what I mean? It's one of those environments, unfortunately, where some of the negative stuff that they talk about is kind of true, but obviously you get to see some of the best athletes in the world, especially at the college level. And we were talking off air about it, but that it's a year-round cycle because we have a football team that obviously per year is one of the best usually ranked in the top 25 outside of last season. Basketball, which has definitely been one of the top programs, making the Elite Eight last season, and then of course baseball, with usually being one of the hosts in the regional or super regional level, and we didn't make it to the College World Series this year, but our softball team won the College World Series for the first time ever, and being one of the few ACC schools to win in softball. So we have one of the top athletic schools in the country in general, not just one specific sport, and it's at a high level, Division I level, which is really, it's an environment that going there, it's unbelievable, and it really is like Major League. I mean, it's like some Major League sports. But really, Florida State is one of the best schools, I think, in the country, period, because it's all around. You've got an excellent academic environment. Depending on your major. I was a writing and political science major, and I would say both of those departments were excellent. I mean, I had professors that were well known and renowned in their field for the work that they provide, and that I was able to work with and actually get to know at a personal level. And then obviously you have a great party environment and friendly student environment, and anybody who's able to, like, whatever you want to get into, whether it's you want to have fun in the nightlife, or you want to have like good clubbing, not clubbing, I mean like going out to clubs, but like clubs in the university, or be politically involved, being that it's the capital of Florida, and that I got to participate a lot in political involvement stuff. The 2016 election was going on while I was in school, and so we were able to do a lot of stuff locally to help candidates get elected. And that I will remember those experiences for the rest of my life. I mean, it really is true what they say, that it is some of the best years of your life, and I will miss it, honestly. I really will.
Andrew Wilson flied out just a moment ago, and I really want to further your point about the mix of academics and athletics there. Myron Roll, who played on the Florida State football team, Rhodes Scholar and amazing college football athlete, had the potential to be drafted in the top 20, but opted to further his education and ended up missing a year of football because of just the extensive, studies that he had going on, and I mean, unfortunately, wasn't able to make a career out of the NFL, but has done so much more great things in his studies beyond that, and has continued that.
And actually, I've met a lot of people ever since coming out here to California. A lot of Florida State graduates that are involved. I mean, it really is one of the great schools in the country. And I can't say enough great things about it. I mean, it was fantastic for me personally, and it continues to pay dividends, being that I meet a lot of great alumni out here. And, having just moved out here a few weeks ago, or about 5-6 weeks ago, whenever you go to somewhere new, you don't really know people. And one of the ways that I've been able to meet new people is through, getting in touch with people who are Florida State alumni, and they're all across the country, no matter where you go. It really is a national brand, the Seminoles. And it's funny, growing up, I was a Miami Hurricane fan. I never thought that I was going to be. That ball actually almost landed right by us. That ball landed just 2 feet to our right. That foul pop-up. I never thought I was going to be a Florida State fan or a Florida State student. And the real reason that I went there was because a lot of my friends were going to that school, and I wanted to go somewhere that I knew that people I knew were going to go, and I would have had friends there. And I was I got accepted into a lot of different schools, and that was the place that I really wanted to go. And honestly, it was a very good decision. And I grew up quite a bit going to school, so it was a big time, exciting time for me. And like I said, it's something that I'll never forget, and I sometimes think about it a lot. Like, oh man, I wish I still had a year or two to enjoy it.
As that one flies out right to the shortstop to retire the side. Score still 14-3 in favor of the Academy Barons. We will be back in a moment on the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
And he won't have brain damage, so that's another good thing.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. Thank you for joining us for our Sunday afternoon series finale against the Academy Barons, as that first pitch is a ball. We still got Joshua Stevens on the mound for the Barons, and it is Drew Cowley at the plate now for the Saints. The score still 14-3. Anthony Alejandro is here alongside Chris Diavanzo. Connects on that one, does Drew Cowley. And that is going to bounce off the top of the wall there. And that is going to be a home run for Drew Cowley. So a big hit there out in center field. We saw it kind of bounce off the wall, but we saw it bounce off the very top of the wall there. That is a home run. And good to see that for the Saints, and Drew Cowley continuing to swing a hot bat here.
You know what? It's really great to see that they're not giving away at bats. It's been a really hot day, and you're trailing by a lot of runs. There's only, about an inning or so left to go in this game, and you could be very easy to just pack it up and say, well, it is what it is. We'll get him back on Tuesday. But these guys are still battling, and like I said, even if it's just, we want to get our own stats. You only get 4 at bats a game, and whatever the case may be, when you step into the plate, you don't want it to think, it's 14-3. It's like it's a 0-0 game, and so good for Cali. Obviously, we've talked about the success that he's had this season. To be able to hit one out, that's his second home run of the year, and was a poke out there to center field. It's a little bit of an optical illusion, but that ball hit off the net behind the fence there.
Yeah.
And so a good swing, and who knows? Crazier things that have happened. Maybe they put together a big inning and they scored 9 or 10 runs here, and we've seen it in baseball before. 10-run 8th inning, 10-run 9th inning.
Absolutely.
So never say die. That's the beauty of baseball. That you got to get these outs before anything happens, and so we'll see what happens here. And look, it's Nick Lacayo getting his first at bat.
And that one's going to drop into left field for a base hit. So just as you said, never say die. We've got back-to-back hits here to start off the inning. Now Jacob Jenkins coming up to the plate for the Saints. We'll see if they can continue this stretch. And the whole never say die thing really seems like a theme in the CCL in general, because this is a game of scoring runs. I was telling Stephen Beltiera yesterday, it's almost like a game of basketball. It feels like at times like it's a game of scoring runs here in the CCL at times. And as he's going to be able to take his base there, hit by pitch, and now runners on first and second. So we'll see if we can get a bit of a rally going here. And now Mitch Kerner coming up to the plate, catching today for the Arroyo Seco Saints, with no outs here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
At this point, even if they lose by 14-7 or 14-8, say, it would be really nice to see if they put up a big inning to just show that, hey, listen, we're not checked out. That's something that where when you're faced by a big deficit, and as I said, it's very easy to just mentally check out of the game. But these guys, we've talked about how high character they are. I don't think that that's something that they would do, and it would be really nice for them to be able to put together a big inning, go into tomorrow's game without that sour taste in their mouth of getting blown out, and you say, well, you know what? We had a really rough sixth inning. A lot of runs came in to score, but aside from that, we played a good game. So it would be nice to see if they're able to put together a rally here. Now, Mackenzie, you talked to Mackenzie a little bit earlier today. He's coming up now as a pinch hitter.
Yep. Yeah, we got the bases loaded up now. Mitch Kerner delivered there, and big opportunity here for Brendan McKenzie. We talk about Saints players who have done it all this year, whether it be pitching, hitting, playing great defense. Well, Brendan McKenzie has done it all today. He has been on the air with us, and now he's out there getting ready to take an at-bat, a big at-bat with the bases loaded here.
And it's likely he'll get in the field in the ninth inning as well, so he actually will get to do a little bit of everything today.
Yeah.
Work as a cheerleader, coach, broadcaster, hitter, and eventually fielder. So that's a busy day.
Yep, and during that interview, he talked about the importance of staying loose on a day like this where you don't necessarily know for sure you're going to go out there, but you want to be ready when they call upon you. Certainly these guys do a great job of that. We've seen great hits come up in these pinch hitting opportunities for the Saints this season. Certainly Brendan McKenzie has a big opportunity here with no outs and bases loaded up here.
And a run already in. A run unrelated to this bases loaded situation. And then, of course, Armenta on deck, who already picked up a hit, and maybe his bat is starting to get going a little bit.
That one low, 1-1 the count now on Brendan McKenzie. And there's a hit right up the middle. This is going to score 2 runs for the Saints.
Nice job by Brendan McKenzie there. Coming off the bench cold. That's one of the toughest things to do in all of baseball is when you've been sitting on the bench and watching the game. I mean, essentially, it would be like asking one of us, go up there, get a hit.
Yep.
Although Brendan's a little bit of a better hitter than us. But, it's the same idea where you're not in the game. And Brendan, of course, he talked about that in the interview. You got to prepare like you're going to play because you might actually get in, and when you do get in, you're expected to get a hit. So a nice job by Brendan to able to get the base hit there, and we'll see what they do with the pitcher. They're going out to talk on the mound here. From this angle, it's tough to see the bullpen to see if there's anybody getting loose, but I would think that in a score like this, you want your guy to kind of just throw some mop up and get you through at the very least the 8th inning. You don't want to go to the bullpen and use another pitcher to get through a game where the lead is pretty much wrapped up, especially considering that there's going to be a day off tomorrow, but when you use a pitcher, he's not going to pitch the next day. And if he has to throw 3 innings, he's probably not going to pitch 2 days. So you want to be able to get your guy that you already brought into the game. You want him to give you some good innings, and obviously, with an 8-run lead, he's got a lot of wiggle room where he can give up a few runs and not really have to worry. And so right now, he's given up 3 in this inning. The Saints yet to record an out, and runners on first and second here with another chance to maybe add on to this and get back into this game.
That one skied up to center field, and he gets it for the out. Kerner looked like he was going to tag up and go there, but thinks better of it, and we got runners on first and second here. That's the first out of this half inning. And you mentioned just a moment ago, off day tomorrow. Saints just have one more game before that All-Star break. Tuesday night, right here at Jackie Robinson Field at Brookside Park. They're going to be taking on the Conejo Oaks. 6:05 p.m. start. So
that'll be a big game. The last time we played Conejo, we unfortunately fell by a bit of a margin. It was 17-1 was the score in that game. So, again, it's one of those things where, okay, you put that result behind you, but it would be really nice to be able to come against Conejo and get a win, especially when you get beat up. And they've beaten the Conejo Oaks in the other matchup that they've had against them this season. And so, they really match up well against a lot of these teams. It's just that the results this week, it is what it is. It happens sometimes, and when you get late into the season, fatigue and other things start to take a hold, and you think that maybe that's had a little bit of impact on the level of play this week. So you hope that when they face Conejo on Tuesday, you get a nice day off, relax, maybe watch some meditation videos on YouTube or something. Just get yourself into a nice headspace. Come back on the field on Tuesday getting ready to play a little bit of baseball. You only got 2 weeks left in the season, so you want to make a good lasting impression.
Jack Smith at the plate now. 2-1 the count. Jack Smith, our number 9 hitter. It's good to have a guy like Jack Smith as the number 9 hitter because he's a guy who, we've talked about how he, when he gets on base, he can wreak havoc on the bases, steal some bases, and, we've seen him come up with some big hits this year for the Saints.
Definitely. And, I've talked about that already as he lines that ball in our right center field.
Run going to score here for the Saints. And one touchdown game now.
Yeah, one touchdown game.
14-7 the score now.
Well, again, but this is what I was talking about. This is a very good inning for the Saints, being able to score 4 runs. You got another guy on third base with 1 out. Another pinch hitter now, Bobby Fulkerson, who is a two-way player, pitcher. Pitched in yesterday's game. Struggled a little bit, but he came in yesterday's game. And as we mentioned off the air, he actually has the highest batting average of the team. He's batting 2 for 5. He's 400. But he's got a couple of hits in it. When he started the game on Wednesday, he had a pair of singles.
Yeah.
So he comes up now with an opportunity to deliver for the Saints. And as I said, this is the inning that they really needed. Even if it doesn't get them back in the game, obviously trailing by 11 runs, that is a tall order to score 11 runs in 2 innings. But you like the fact that they didn't just say, well, it is what it is. Let's get a couple of outs and hit the pool.
Yep.
We're here to play, and we're gonna play to the last out. So good for them.
And Bobby Fulkerson continues to get style points for the mustache and that walk-up song. Got the Cops theme song going in the background when he comes up there.
Bobby's he's the definition of cool. I got to tell you. He's one of the coolest guys I think I've ever seen. And he's just super laid back. It is what it is. He takes things as they come. And but as a baseball player, he's somebody with and I've said this a lot about this team, but somebody's got a future in this game if he really definitely keeps working at it.
5 at-bats for Fulkerson this season. So far, 2 for 5. Looking for his first RBI. Got an opportunity right here.
And if baseball doesn't work out, he's got the mustache. He could maybe be a pizza maker. He open up his own pizzeria. He's got the Italian look.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if Fulkerson, maybe his name is Fulcarino.
Yeah. And that one's going to get through for a hit. And there's his first RBI of the season.
And his 3rd hit. Good for Bobby.
Yeah.
And now it is a 6-run game. And you know what? This inning is not over yet. You got Marco Martinez coming up. Still 1 out. 5 runs already in for the Saints here in the 8th inning. And a 14-8 game. And I believe that is going to be it for the pitcher, as now the parents have to really start thinking about, okay, we need to actually get these guys out, because if we give up 6 runs, okay, 6 runs is still a decent-sized lead, but if you give up another hit, there's 5 runs, then you need 4 runs, and all of a sudden you're looking at a situation where you're facing a save situation potentially in the 9th inning. You were leading by 11 runs just by a couple outs ago. So you definitely want to be able to get the guys out when you can. You don't want to let them back in the game if you're the Academy Barons, and if you're the Saints, you just keep doing what you're doing. You're playing loose right now. Okay, we come up, we're getting good at bats. Now you're facing a new pitcher.
Yep, that is going to be number 26, Alonzo Billups, right-handed pitcher out of Santa Clara University.
But it's the same approach, and sometimes I think that maybe they put a little bit too much pressure on themselves, and when they are faced with a game where you're trailing by a lot of runs, you just go up there with the easy approach of, hey man, I'm going to see the ball, I'm going to put a good swing on it. If it's in the zone, we're going to hit it, and if it's not, we're going to let it go. It's another old baseball cliche, but it's see ball, hit ball.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you can get inside your own head a little bit, start doing too much thinking, well, he threw me a curveball on the last pitch, he's probably not going to double up, it's an 0-1 count, do you think he's going to try to bury a pitch or throw a ball? See the ball, hit the ball.
Yep.
It's that simple. So, good for them here in the 8th inning. This is a 5-run inning, and obviously, could be more. And so I love the fact that they have stuck with the game. And, you never know. Really, you don't.
Yep.
If they get a big hit, keep the inning going. Callie's on deck. He's going to be the 10th hitter for the Saints in the inning. So Marco Martinez up now as the Saints are batting around. You never know, man. If they are able to get into, and it's all of a sudden it's 14-9, 14-10. This is what happened yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the Academy Barons, where okay, they scored a couple of runs, and you're thinking, well, it's still 11-6. I mean, this game's out of reach, and then all of a sudden it's 11-9, and then 11-10, and once you're within 3, it's a ball game. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've seen it so many times. Things change in a hurry here in these CCL ball games. We're very used to these high-scoring games this season. And we've got another one going here. And like you said, we saw it yesterday. Maybe we could see this playing out in reverse today.
If you ever see the lines for these games and the over and under, take the over. Always.
Absolutely.
21.5 runs. Take the over. So Martinez now coming up to bat.
Alonzo Billups pitched 10 innings so far this season for the Academy Barons. Currently has an ERA of 9. See if the Saints can raise that a bit here in this inning.
We're approaching the 3-hour mark now.
Yep.
It's 4 p.m. here. 7 p.m. on the East Coast, if anybody out there is watching us. I know we've got players from all across the country and friends and family that watch us live. So shout out to all of you guys that make these broadcasts possible.
Yep. We appreciate that. We also appreciate when the family members come here, even for the away team, because sometimes there are some names that are hard to pronounce, and they come up and they tell us what the last name is. That means a lot to us. There's been some head scratchers this year, some names that we have not been able to figure out, and moments later in commercial breaks, we get a family member come up and give us the assist.
Like Jenkins, that name was brutal.
I don't know what I was saying before his family came up to talk to me, but apparently...
Jacob Jenkins?
Yeah, something like that.
No, I'm making fun because we see his mom at the games a lot, and she's a very nice lady. And their family has come out here. They're not from California, but their family has come out to California for the summer. And we saw her at the game at Healdsburg last week, and it was Jacob's birthday, and it was a great time. She's definitely somebody that she talks to the interns and to the other fans, and it's very nice to have your family and things like that come out to support you while you're doing this.
Fouls that one off.
And I just realized I didn't mean this because of that, but I just realized my parents also from Florida, but they're here in California on vacation this week, and they stopped by the park for a little bit earlier today. So a shout out to them for same thing, coming out and supporting me while I'm doing this job, and it was really nice to see them. And you feel a little bit homesick sometimes when you come out to a new place, and being able to see your parents, it kind of brings you back to where you were.
Strikeout there. Out number 2, and absolutely, to further your point, baseball is such a family sport. Like you said, you see family members here of the players, but also for people like us, this is a cool opportunity for us to come out here, get to call some games.
Back here in the ninth, the Saints with a 5-run eighth inning. They get back into the game a little bit. 14-8 the score. The Academy Barons leading as we go into the final frame. On the mound now for the Arroyo Seco Saints is Joey Steele. Joey, the man of steel they call him, the closer for the Saints. After a couple of rough outings in the ninth inning the last few games, and obviously the home run against the Barons yesterday on a 2-out, 2-strike pitch. He's in the ninth just to get a little bit of work in, hopefully get a quick 1-2-3 inning in. And we were talking earlier about, sometimes you don't see a pitcher if they come in the game the day before, coming in the next day, but Steele getting a little bit of work in here on his second consecutive day. Some defensive changes. Bobby Fulkerson, who came in as a pinch hitter, he's now in at third base. And Marco Martinez came in the game earlier, he's at first base. So now Bruce Martin, the Stetson shortstop, comes up to bat to lead off the ninth inning against Steele. Steele, as you see, working from the stretch. First pitch is a fastball inside for a ball. And Steele, one of the all-star selections, one of the CCL prospects, if you will. Getting a little bit of work in here on Sunday. Probably won't pitch on Tuesday, so we'll see how they decide to use him for that game. And we'll see if they decide to use him if he gets into a little bit of trouble, if they're going to let him work through it, or if, obviously, ideally, it would be a 1-2-3 inning. You'd be able to get him in and out, maybe throw just a handful of pitches. But we'll see how they decide to work him. There's time called. Ball on a strike to count now to Martin.
Yeah, and you talked about him being an all-star this season for them, selected for that prospect game, and really worth noting. I mean, you talked about the most recent 2 outings for him. Unfortunately, not going well for the Saints, but has had a very good season thus far. Been very reliable up until these last couple games, and I mean, it's good to see him come out, another day later, and get another opportunity here to to keep the score as is for the Saints. He currently has a 3.57 ERA on the season as that one bounces away.
Steele's got some of the best stuff on the roster. That sometimes will happen where you'll just throw a curveball that you unfortunately, there's so much spin on it, that ball just gets away. Nobody's on base, no harm, no foul. The 3-1 misses inside for a ball 4, and a leadoff walk to Martin will get us back to the top of the order. Desmond Gates coming up now. And Gates drawing a little bit of a line there in the clay. As he steps into the batter's box, Gates, the center fielder for the Barons, with electric speed and a good bat. Lefty both as a hitter and as a fielder. First pitch to him is a fastball, missing up high. You could see Gates ducking his head a little bit there to make that pitch look a little higher than maybe it was, but it was up high for a ball. 1-0 the count now. As he swings and hits that ball deep in right field, that's Jenkins over to make the catch. Martin will hustle back over to first base. 1 down now, 1 on. As we'll come up to Buck Anderson.
Now that is number 1, Trent Anderson.
And of course he is also known as Trent Anderson, his birth name. But we heard him all day at the Academy Field yesterday. His teammates and the PA announcers calling him Buck. Of course, one of the all-time greatest baseball players in history, Buck O'Neil, perhaps named after him. We have not talked to him, I'm not sure. But that's what that nickname makes me think of, the great legendary player from before the integration of baseball, Buck O'Neil.
Yeah.
The late, great Buck O'Neil.
Yeah, it's thrown us off a little bit, too, in the broadcast booth on multiple days here, because yesterday at their home field, we're hearing them say Buck Anderson right as we're saying Trent Anderson, and now today here, with this being a home game for us, it's been the opposite.
That ball flipped on a second for 1 on the first, not in time. Anderson motoring down the line, able to get there well ahead of the throw. But a force out gets Gates off the base pass, puts Anderson up there, and brings Banuelos up to the plate. 2 outs, 1 on. Banuelos, of course, with a high stance and no batting gloves. Is a handful of these guys on the Academy Barons don't wear any gloves. They just go up there, a little bit of pine tar, grip it and rip it. It's they're old school. First pitch from Steele, lined in the right center field. That's a base hit. Jenkins is there to cut it off as Anderson will hold at second base. So a pair of singles here for the Barons. And now Ouellette coming up, the big left-handed catcher, who's been held relatively quiet for today's game, aside from the sixth inning in which the Barons scored a resounding 9 runs. That right now being the difference in the game. 14 runs for the Barons after 12 runs in yesterday's game. They've scored 29 in the series. The Saints, 8 runs in today's game, 11 on Saturday and 13 on Friday night. That's 32 total runs, or an average of about 10 and 2/3 runs per game. So the offense, as we had mentioned coming into today's game, the offense right now has been on fire, to say the least. They've been putting up great at-bats and scoring a lot of runs, although they needed that big 8th inning there, 5 runs in the 8th inning to get up to the 8-run margin. Steele gets ready. First pitch on the way is a fastball over for a strike.
Ouellette batting .258 on the season for the Barons. Currently just 3 RBIs on the season for him.
The problem with the catchers, though, is that you have sort of a catcher rotation.
Sure.
Not everybody gets in every day. And think about it with the Saints. We have 4 catchers on the roster today. Kerner's in the lineup.
Yep.
And Kerner does play elsewhere. He gets in a DH, left field sometimes, first base. We've seen him play elsewhere, but you've got Kerner, Bennett McCaskill,
Yep.
Nick Lacayo, McCaskill did not get in today's game, and Bryce Gray as well, who did not get into today's game. Lacayo got in as a pinch hitter, got a base hit, and scored a run. 1-1 the count from Steele. Is a fastball over the outside part for a strike, 1-2. Joey now, this is where he's ran into trouble the last few times. 2 strikes and 2 outs. You would love to see him just get a put-away pitch, a strikeout here, or perhaps maybe a ground ball or a pop-up. 1-2, 2 outs. The Saints looking to get to the bottom of the 9th. The pitch is bounced foul, first base side, and clanging off the fence there. You see Hunter Lewis with the ball. He tried to tap the ball with his bat. We'll do it again. 1-2 the count. And a long day. We are now past the 3-hour mark on the broadcast. We've been past it for a few minutes. At least it is a day game. So you've got the rest of the afternoon and tonight and all of Monday as well to get into the wild things I know you get into, Anthony.
You mean nap time?
Nap time?
Yeah.
Definitely nap time for sure.
Yep.
After spending the day in the sun like this, nothing quite like it. A cool shower and then a 3.5-hour nap. Some would just say that's sleeping. 1-2 the count on the way from Steele. That ball pulled foul.
Yep, nap time, which of course can't be achieved until I complete that long drive back to the South Bay area.
Oof. Yeah, I have one myself out to the Burbank area. It's not too far. It's about 20-25 minutes away. That's manageable, and I'll stop and maybe get a hamburger or sandwich or something on the way. And actually, we have a little fun barbecue planned for after the game. As Ouellette down there swinging, as Steele pitching a nice scoreless 9th inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. The Saints, hey, stranger things have happened. They need 6 runs. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. It's Saints 8, Barons 14. We'll be back with the final 3 outs here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network. I have no idea. That's up to you guys. No, it's up to them. They're going to tell me who. Somebody else can pick the player of the game. Somebody over there do something. I am. If you're doing the recap, Henry, do you want to do the interview? No, I'm good. All right. Then just tell me, pick somebody and tell me, and I'll do the interview. Okay. No player. Goal. Who has the best shot? Goal. back here in the bottom of the ninth inning. 3 outs away from the end of this game and potentially a big inning in store, hopefully, as the Saints trailing by 6 with Nick Lacayo up to lead off. The first pitch is a fastball over the plate for a strike. Anthony, we were talking about this off the air. Today, a long game. We didn't know if we were even going to make it to the bottom of the ninth inning, but here we are. 0-1 on the way.
At the very least, appreciate that the Saints have made this interesting for us here these last couple innings. You know, things were not looking great there in the middle of this ball game, 6th and 7th inning. So really nice to see some runs pushed across last inning. Hope for more of the same here in the 9th.
Phillips working very quickly. I'm sure he can sense not quite a safe situation, but he can sense the end of this game, and he's trying to get through it as quickly as possible. You see him motoring through here. He's got an 0-2 count on the way to Lacayo, the pitch. And another foul ball. And here comes Kerner again. And there he goes.
A lot of cameo appearances here on the broadcast throughout the season of Saints players.
That fastball brushing Lacayo back a little bit. As we mentioned earlier, 3 Saints were hit by pitches in today's game. Maybe a little bit of payback for the 3 hit-by pitches received by Andrew Wilson in yesterday's game. 1-2 the count. That pitch on the outside corner called strike 3. Lacayo taking it, looking all the way. And he will go back to the dugout, set down with a strikeout. Lacayo will end the day 1 for 2, coming in as a pinch hitter earlier in the 8th inning and getting a couple at-bats in. With a base hit, run scored, and a strikeout. Now Jacob Jenkins coming up to the plate. Jenkins entered today's game as a 300 hitter. And he had a base hit in 4 attempts. Pitch missing away. So his average dipped a little bit below 300. Could get it back up, though, with a base hit here. 1-0 the count. Lined in a right center field. That's going to get over the glove of the second baseman, Anderson. A base hit by Jenkins, as if right on cue. And so he pulls his batting average back over 300 with a 2 for 5 effort today. And Mitch Kerner will come up to the plate.
Emory College, Mitch Kerner.
Rally still possible here in this one.
Yep, and everybody in attendance, we can see them now wearing their rally caps. They feel a 6-run inning coming on. I feel a 6-run inning coming on. I don't know if you really feel one, Anthony, but I'm sure that
I feel it.
If you believe hard enough, maybe it'll happen. 1 on, 1 out. Kerner taking first pitch over for a strike. Phillips is a good pitcher, though. I mean, I like seeing this guy work. As I mentioned, he throws very quickly, and he's got a good fastball, throws strikes, and he is definitely the quintessential reliever. He's actually got a Mariano Rivera type delivery. That's the impression I'm getting from him. And he's quickly ahead now, 0-2. Kerner will walk back to the edge of the dirt.
And Mariano Rivera, that's a great guy to be compared to.
Of course, Rivera, the greatest closer in the history of baseball. I'm not saying that Phillips is necessarily at that level yet, but he just in his demeanor on the mound and his delivery, that's who he reminds me of, and his quick working. Is that pitch over, but a time was called, so no pitch on that one. And actually interesting to see that ball, 0-2, he threw that a fastball right down the middle on an 0-2 pitch.
Yeah.
We'll see if he goes back to that now. He's throwing fastballs each of these last 2. 0-2 the count now to Kerner. The pitch is a fastball fouled back.
Heading back our way.
And into the seats right behind us. Still a number of fans here sitting, most of them in the shade.
Yep,
sitting
they
on
found the right spots.
the top rows of the bleachers here at Jackie Robinson Field. The top rows covered by trees and assorted shrubbery. 0-2 on the way. Another foul ball. Kerner battling. 1-2, the count. As Phillips pounds strikes, that's for sure. Throws a lot of strikes. Throws quickly. Fastballs mostly.
Brennan McKenzie runs across our little broadcast view here.
McKenzie on deck. He'll come up next, so long as there's not a double play. 1-2. Fastball cut on and missed. Strike 3. So a pair of strikeouts for Phillips here in the 9th inning. Brennan McKenzie now coming up. The last hope for the Saints. McKenzie came in as a pinch hitter, got a base hit. We talked to McKenzie on the broadcast earlier today. Cal Poly Pomona grad. Well, he's not a grad yet, but he's a Cal Poly Pomona's player. Teammate of Drew Cowley and teammate of Michael Gomez, who left the team earlier this week. One of three, Pomona. And Gomez also, by the way, nominated as an All-Star.
Yeah.
First pitch in the dirt. Nice save there by Ouellette. So you'd love to see McKenzie get a base hit here.
Absolutely. You know, he came up big last inning, a big part of the reason why they scored so many runs in that inning. Great to see him kind of keep this game alive for the Saints here.
Jenkins leads off at first, shallow lead. And a high pop-up down the right field line. That ball foul. Racing over Anderson is there, making the catch. And that will do it. The final score for the Barons 14, for the Saints 8. And the Barons unfortunately dropping this one, falling to 9-19 in CCL play. The Academy Barons with the win, their 11th win, they improved to 11-19 on the season. The winning pitcher in today's game is Spencer Hereford, who went 6 1/3 innings, giving up 4 runs. For the loss, the Saints pitcher Wyatt Kelly, who went 4 1/3 innings, giving up 5 runs. Anthony, as we wrap up this broadcast, the Saints dropped 2 out of 3. The offense was there, but the pitching struggled. What's your takeaway from this series?
Well, it's felt like a long 3 days. You know, we've seen these Academy Barons the last 3 days, and I feel like it's gotten harder and harder each day. You know, a resilient team that the Saints played against. But on the other side of that, good to see the Saints stay in these ball games. They, you know, may have been far behind on this one today, but it was great to see them get some runs across in the 8th inning. Certainly, you know, we hope to see them do well against the Barons the next time they play them.
For all of us here on the Arroyo Seco staff, my name is Christopher Diavanzo. For Anthony Alejandres and the rest of us here at Arroyo Seco, we thank you for watching, and we encourage you to tune in again on Tuesday as the Saints return to play with a big game against the Conejo Oaks. For all of us here at Arroyo Seco, thank you again. We will be live on Tuesday night. The final score tonight, 14 for the Barons, the Saints with 8. See you again. Thank you for watching.